Hey Lexi, back in May of 1991, World Championship Wrestling presented its first ever SuperBrawl event, and it also happened to be the very first wrestling pay-per-view that I ever ordered, so I thought today we would watch that show and have a little bit of fun with it. What do you say?
Sounds good.
Then let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to LexiCon. It is Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And before we get into the main event, I want to remind everybody that our second annual LexiCon Comic-Con is coming your way November 21st from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Village Inn in Clemens, North Carolina. I think I said PN.
I think you did too.
Like PN News, the former wrestler for World Championship Wrestling, who's not on this show, but will be on the next show we're going to watch in July. But anyway, back to the Comic-Con. Yes, admission is free, so come out and support all the great vendors, artists, and guests we're going to have on hand, and we hope to see you there. More information will be forthcoming here and, of course, on all of our socials. And again, look out for something tie-in with our Patreon, patreon.com/LexiConvo. Stuff coming your way to look forward to. But for now, we're focused on World Championship Wrestling SuperBrawl. Originally aired May 19th, 1991. World Championship Wrestling, of course, the company that was once Jim Crockett Promotions, itself the last bastion of the once venerable National Wrestling Alliance, even though the National Wrestling Alliance technically still exists to this day. Billy Corgan owns it from Smashing Pumpkins. But JCP was the last of the big territories under the NWA banner. They got into money trouble. They were purchased by their partner, Turner Broadcasting, and eventually rechristened World Championship Wrestling. This is the first Super Brawl pay-per-view, but of course it's not the first World Championship Wrestling pay-per-view. It just happens to be the first one that I personally purchased as a wrestling fan. Their previous pay-per-view, War Games, Wrestle War, which featured the War Games, I'd actually seen my friend Jimmy, his family got it, and he was nice enough to record it for me. So that's the first one I actually got to see pretty much in real time. But this was the first one that I ever ordered myself, kicking off a long tradition of purchasing wrestling pay-per-views. Of course, if you're not familiar with the concept, pay-per-views are the predecessors of the current PLEs.
Yes.
Although AEW and other wrestling companies do still have traditional pay-per-views. Obviously, you pay to view it. It's literally just what it says. You would, pay a certain price and you get to watch it.
There's literally no reason to change that name. Very simple. Very straightforward.
Well, yeah, because you don't pay for them. Like the PLEs on WWE are on the streaming service. You're not paying per event. You literally pay for the show. You'd get to watch it as aired live, and that was it. There was no on-demand or anything else. You could record it, though technically that was in the gray area of legality, and some systems actually did have methods to prevent you from doing it.
Oh, methods to prevent that.
Sometimes there would be signals there were things that would scramble your signal if a VCR was detected. Mm-hmm. Different cable companies, different technologies would sometimes prevent that. But yeah,
I thought that was a Netflix on mobile device thing.
It wasn't just wrestling pay-per-views. Of course, there were concerts and boxing events. There was also movies on pay-per-view, and it was like a channel. Like that movie would air in that block, and you could pay to watch it during that time. It wasn't exactly an on-demand thing. It's like, Captain Ron's airing from 10 to midnight. I'm going to purchase, which I did and fell asleep during, honestly. So, I'm not saying that's a knock on Captain Ron. It's just a fact. But
and this is why recording was nice.
Yeah, and with the wrestling pay, they would do a replay. They would traditionally you'd have like a wrestling pay-per-view on a Sunday. Most of them were on Sundays. Sometimes they were on Saturdays. Sometimes they were on Mondays. But Sunday was kind of the traditional wrestling pay-per-view day, and then the following Tuesday you would get a replay.
Yeah.
And then at some point they started doing a replay directly after the pay-per-view. So the pay-per-view would end right before 11 p.m. Then the replay would start at 11 p.m.
Yeah. And
my cable system actually started give you the replay for free. So if you bought the regular thing, you'd get to watch the replay too, which was nice because when Halloween Havoc 98 occurred, they actually ran over their satellite time, so a lot of people missed the main event of that show. Damn. But for us, it just played right into it, and then the replay started late, and the replay cut off before the main event, but we'd already seen it live, so that didn't really matter.
Interesting.
But that was always really cool. But yeah, it wasn't like an on-demand thing where you would purchase it and you could go back and watch it whenever, unless you recorded it yourself. It was a one-time deal, and it came on when it came on.
That sounds expensive.
There was no pausing and rewinding until digital cable came into effect in the early 2000s. And then, of course, you had DVRs as well with your digital cable, so you could record it that way and store it on your hard drive.
I once recorded Edward Scissorhands and never watched it. Still have not seen it to this day.
But it was pretty much a one-shot deal. And now I still have my VHS copy of this event we're going to watch today. Unfortunately, we're going to have to watch it on YouTube. Well, fortunately. They've done a really good job putting a lot of the classic wrestling content on YouTube, so it's nice that it's there. But I do still miss the WWE Network, which we don't still have access to in the United States.
Unfortunately.
But there's an interesting thing, too. My copy of this pay-per-view is in black and white.
What?
Interesting.
The broadcast was fine watching it, but then we went back and watched the tape. The tape is all in black and white.
That's really weird.
I would say it was like an anti-piracy measure, but I don't think it is. Our cable box at the time was getting kind of janky. It was probably time to get a new one. And then when the main event of the show comes on, it switches back to color. So I don't think it was the case of any sort of anti-piracy. Plus, the anti-piracy things I see would really scramble the signal. They wouldn't just make it black and white. So I think it was just kind of a glitchy issue with our cable box or our cables. But I always thought it was kind of unique. I had a black and white copy of this. And I'd be glad to watch it now if I knew where it was beyond in a tote somewhere in my basement.
Then I couldn't as easily judge people's outfits.
And
so.
if we had a VCR that was, high quality. I've been looking into getting a new VCR. That's not easy because they don't really mass produce them anymore. You got to kind of get a refurbished one. So it's it's a little sketchy. And I really want to go about converting all of my VHS tapes, at least the important ones, like home recordings. Like if it's a mass produced, commercially bought product, no big deal. I can just get it on DVD or something for the most part. But some of my, not home videos per se, but home recorded stuff, I'd like to convert, but then I got to find storage for all of that, so that's an issue too. But we're rambling, we're going on. We got almost 3 hours of show ahead of us. This was back in the traditional pay-per-view days when you had a 3-hour window, but they had to end within like 10 minutes of the end of the show, so they had time to reset the satellite and whatnot. So we got 2 hours and 40 minutes of show ahead of us. We're going to be watching on YouTube. Like I say, if you're watching the commercial release of this, you're actually going to miss out because for some reason Turner Broadcasting cut out matches for their pay-per-view home video recordings. They would cut them out to try to get them down to 2 hours, so you're going to miss like 5 of the matches on the show. And it's not like the most important matches, it's some of the least important ones, but for completion's sake, you want to see the whole thing. Yeah. So I'm hoping via YouTube broadcast this is going to be complete. I have no reason to think it's not. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, which would be right in the window. So if anything's cut, it's not anything really significant. So anyway, if you're going to be watching along with us, we're going to give you a countdown, 3, 2, 1, play. We'll all play together on play. And as always, if you're not watching, that's fine too. Hopefully we'll be just as entertaining. And I don't have anything else to say before we get started. I feel like we've talked too much as it is. Any one of y'all like to throw anything in before we get started?
No, I think we're good.
Hopefully we'll have plenty to say during the actual show. But
sorry, the cat just fell.
I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, so we're going to get things started. And I do want to say, normally we would have the sound down and we have our closed captioning turned on. And we do have our closed captioning turned on. And for most, we're going to have the sound on. But I want to let the opening music play just to give you all a taste because I always thought this was really cool music to kick off the show. All right. So we're going to go 3, 2, 1, play. And on our broadcast, you're going to get to hear the music for a minute. And there's another point in the show that I want to play some of the music too. Hopefully we're not going to get content ID'd on the YouTube version of this, but if we do, I'll deal with it then. Okay. All right, so without any further ado, this is going to be SuperBrawl 1991, LexiCon commentary style in 3, 2, 1, play. Isn't that awesome? I love that music. That's like classic opening wrestling pay-per-view music.
It reminds me of something else, but I'm not sure what else. To me. In the game, TV show, something.
WWF had great entrance music too for its pay-per-views like SummerSlam 91 and some of the Royal Rumble tunes, but I don't know, that one always just set the tone really nicely for me as we see SuperBrawl exploding onto the screen. Like I said, this was the first SuperBrawl. There would be 10 of them in all, going all the way through 2000. In 2001, the last year of WCW's existence, they called the February pay-per-view... Gosh, I think they still called it SuperBrawl, so I guess there were 11, but it had a subtitle. It was SuperBrawl Revenge, because they were doing a 7 Deadly Sins theme with their pay-per-views. Yeah. The January one was, well, it wouldn't be 7 Deadly Sins, but the January one was Sin, and then we had SuperBrawl Revenge in February, and then the very last WCW pay-per-view was WCW Greed. So technically, I guess there were 11.
Those are sins?
Huh?
Only one of those are one of the 7 Deadly Sins?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think that, well, then again, if they were going to do it all year, they had 12 shows to do, so they couldn't only do 7. True. So maybe they felt like they had to stretch a little bit. We're getting America the Beautiful here sung at the beginning of the show. You know, it's not untraditional for a sporting event to start off with the national anthem or America the Beautiful. Or isn't there another song that fits in with that? Look at the VHS quality. Maybe. You see how it's rolling?
I do.
The interesting thing is, I think that's in the actual broadcast, though. I think my tape does that, and I think the version that was on the network had a little glitch there during the intro, too.
Interesting.
So God Bless America, that's the other song I'm thinking about that might kick off a sporting event. It's fine, I don't have a problem with it. It's kind of traditional. I could do without it as well, but hey, it's fine if you want to do it. It doesn't detract from the whole show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now the pyro kicks off.
Pyro.
The pyro.
But I did want to say, the very first SuperBrawl was in May. Like I said, they had Wrestle War in February, and then they had SuperBrawl in May. Starting the next year, they would reverse that, and SuperBrawl would move to February, and Wrestle War would move to May, and Wrestle War would actually go away to be replaced by other events, but SuperBrawl would continue as the February event for the rest of the existence of WCW. Also, Jim Ross, probably the greatest commentary of at least my lifetime in wrestling, is going to be doing the play-by-play, and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, father, of course, of Cody Rhodes. legendary wrestler in his own right. It's going to be doing the color commentary. He had just come back to WCW to be the booker. After a stint in the WWF. And if you look back over their shoulder, you see that guy in the blue shirt holding up the front row section D on tour sign?
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea who that guy is. But with him is famed wrestling journalist Bruce Mitchell.
Nice.
He'll pop up in a couple of the shots. Not that guy with the long hair. I don't see Bruce on the screen right now. And you see the guys in the Four Horsemen suits. But Bruce Mitchell was part of a legendary group of so-called smart fans who would go to the Greensboro Coliseum and they'd call themselves Front Row Section D. So I assume that guy is maybe one of those fans as well, since he's got the sign. He was just holding Bruce's hand up. You can only see Bruce for very fleeting shots.
Yeah.
I think that's his arm right there. But if anybody was a reader of the Pro Wrestling Torch during the 90s, Bruce was one of the featured columnists there. What?
Is he wearing a black t-shirt?
I believe he was. Like I say, in certain shots over Dusty's shoulder, you could see him.
And so you may have been able to see him.
And I got it confirmed. I actually tweeted him and asked, was that him? And he confirmed that it was. So I'm not speaking out of term.
I was going to say, you may have been able to see him, and that guy in the white shirt moved back right after you said not that one.
Yeah, but Bruce Mitchell, he's a school teacher in Greensboro. Or was, maybe retired by now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, very possible.
But like I say, he was like one of the feature columnists from the Torch newsletter in the 90s and into the 2000s.
Out of the 80s.
Yep. Diamond Dallas Page leading the way as the manager of the fabulous Freebirds. Diamond Dallas Page would go on to much greater fame as a wrestler in the coming years. He started off as an announcer and then a manager, and then around the age of 40, he went to wrestling school and decided to become a wrestler.
Nice.
And would actually become very successful during the Attitude Era and the NWO, the Monday Night War era, as a foil to the NWO, in fact, where he would really make his mark.
Interesting. Those people, hot pink and everything, those outfits look 100% straight out of the 80s.
Yeah, that is the I don't know what to call them. Jim Cornette calls them the faux birds.
Okay.
But this is the then current version of the Fabulous Freebirds. The Fabulous Freebirds were originally Michael Hayes, who you see in the black leather jacket holding up his arms with blonde hair, who's currently one of the big creative forces in WWE, and also the late Terry Gordy and Buddy Roberts, who's also probably deceased at this point. I don't mean to be rude. I just don't remember any big deal about his passing, but he was the older member of the trio, so I would assume perhaps Buddy Roberts has also passed away. But those were the original Freebirds, had legendary feud with the Von Erichs and World Class Championship Wrestling in the early 80s. Sort of were one of the forerunners of the rock and wrestling connection. They one of the first groups to come into music. Obviously, they came into Freebird naturally. But this was this was the version of the Freebirds that I grew up with, because I wasn't a wrestling fan in the 80s.
Yeah.
Apologies for the throat clear.
According to this, if I found the correct one, he died in 2012.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He was the older member. He had been wrestling a lot longer than the other guys. Pneumonia. Well, R.I.P. Buddy Roberts.
Yes.
This is a match for the United States Tag Team Championship. You see the referee holding those up. Those are some of my favorite belts in the history of wrestling. I love those belts on the red with the red strap.
Yeah.
And the nice big gold medallions with the round side plates.
Yeah.
I think they had round side plates. I know they were on the red strap. I love.
He was wearing a big necklace.
But I don't care about the title itself, what it represents. It was a secondary tag team title, whatever. But the actual physical belts, like I said, they're two of my top 5 belts in all of wrestling. I think they look really great.
Eventually, I'd really like to get some miniature wrestling belts, but like the actual metal and everything. Yeah. And they seem perfectly sized for my American Gold dolls, but they're like still hundreds of dollars.
The titles here had been vacated because the Steiner brothers, who were the United States Tag Team Champions, beat the Fabulous Freebirds to win the World Tag Team Championship. So then they... Even though, like, the Midnight Express were U.S. and World Tag Team Champions together for a while, in this case they decided to go ahead and hold them up. And I don't know if they had a tournament or they just had a match here to determine the champions.
Yeah.
It's a good match to kick off the show, though. I actually think this whole show is really good. 1991 is not considered a high watermark in professional wrestling at all. In fact, some of the shows are considered really, really bad. In fact, the one we're going to watch after this in July is considered a real low point for wrestling pay-per-views, even though I still actually... I find a lot to appreciate in it still, and not just for nostalgia's sake.
I don't
you guys will be able to judge that when we see it. But this show is actually a pretty solid show overall. There's too many matches on it. They could have gotten rid of some of the matches that really didn't mean that much.
Yeah.
So some of the more headline matches could have had a little more time. But overall, it's a pretty solid... There's no great matches on it, but there's a lot of really good wrestling on it. And this is one of the examples of the really good. I think I have Dave Meltzer's star ratings up here. And of course, I understand his stories are not the end-all, be-all. I'm not saying they're right, wrong, or different, but just to give you an idea of how it was received, this match got 3.5 stars in the Wrestling Observer.
Yeah, I don't like the little trunk things.
Are you talking about the pistols or the Freebirds?
Yeah, the yellow ones.
Well, you like
that
it
are
better.
half yellow and half
You like it better than what they used to wear, and we've actually seen that before because we watched the very first Clash of the Champions special that I ever saw for its anniversary a few years ago. But they used to be the wild-eyed Southern boys, and they wore like Confederate outfits, and they had like the Confederate flag on their trunks.
Half yellow and half gold is definitely an improvement.
They are the one in the ring. Okay, they're both in the ring now. The one who was legally in the ring is Steve Armstrong, and the other one is Tracy Smothers. And then now Brad Armstrong, the late Brad Armstrong, is just in the ring. He's Steve's brother. Great wrestler in his own right, like one of the best in-ring wrestlers I ever saw. Never quite got his personality over to the point that he could be a top star.
Yeah.
But fantastic in the ring. He and Bobby Eaton had a great match at the previous pay-per-view to this Wrestle War 91 that I've always really loved. But they're part of the same wrestling family as, of course, their father was Bob Armstrong, who was a legendary wrestler in the South, especially like in Pensacola and Tennessee. And then, of course, their brother Steve is the one wrestling. Their brother Scott was also a wrestler. I think either Scott or Steve would end up becoming a referee for WWE in the early 2000s. And then the youngest brother of the family is Brian Armstrong, who, of course, is much more famous as the Road Dogg, one half of the New Age Outlaws, a quarter of DX, a fifth of DX, depending on how you want to look at it. But
I tried.
What was a major creative force in the WWE until he just quit recently.
Interesting. I was going to say I tried to look up how a VCR works. I still don't understand it.
It has magnetic tape and it reads the images off the tape. I mean, it's like a cassette tape, but with video images.
Yeah, but like, especially like when recording something off of the TV, how does that work? I don't understand it yet.
I don't know, Lexi. I can't break down all the science of it.
That's fair.
That's for another podcast.
It is.
Well, let's not spend too much time delving into that.
No, I've moved on.
What's on
I was
the
going to say
screen.
earlier you were talking about how you like a new VCR or whatever. I was going to say that I personally want a new portable DVD player.
I just need a new DVD. Well, I'd rather have a Blu-ray player since it'll play both.
Fair. I just want a portable
I just
one
want to replace my Blu-ray player for the bedroom, and even
TV.
that's like almost $100 now. Used to get one for like $40.
Damn.
I know, right? I mean, the one in my bedroom still works fine, but I lost the remote to it, and it's just kind of beaten up because I've had it for 10 plus years now.
I used to have, it may not have been Blu-ray, it may have just been DVD. I used to have one, but then it was when my bedroom was in the basement, and I left it on the floor, and I think it got stepped on multiple times. So I don't think it's okay now.
Talking about wrestling families, of course, we talked about the Armstrongs. Jimmy Jam Garvin, the wrestler who's in the ring with the pink trunks, the other half of the Freebirds. Yeah. He's part of a wrestling family, too. His stepfather was Ron Garvin, who beat Ric Flair for the NWA World Championship back in 1987. And then there was another Garvin, Terry Garvin, who I'm not sure if he was actually related to them or not.
Fair.
And I don't know that Garvin's even their real last name when it comes to it. But that's at least their professional name. I'm not even sure if Armstrong... I think Armstrong is the Armstrong's real last name.
Alright.
Funny spot there where Tracy was getting the crowd to clap for him, and then Michael was trying to get the crowd to clap for the heels. Mm-hmm. And not getting the reaction he wanted.
Fair. How do you feel about the blue and yellow ropes?
Blue, black, and yellow. The middle rope is black.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Totally not the worst.
Yeah, it doesn't really stand out to me. I mean, they've had all kinds of different variations as far as rope colors. Yeah,
I was going to say, I don't remember which show or exactly what the issue was, but I remember one of the shows we have watched on the podcast, I didn't mind the colors of the ropes, but the way they had them oriented was annoying me.
I'm sorry. If we're talking about that too, talking about the setup of the era, the ramp that the competitors came down, I always really, really liked that ramp that WWE used for all their big shows. Yeah. I know some of the performers, like Jim Cornette, said he hated it because he's trying to work ringside and then you can't go all the way around it. But as a fan, I always really liked it. And to a degree, I'm like, if you're a fan there, then you can't slap hands with the wrestler when they're coming down to ringside, which is kind of a bummer. Yeah. But I just felt like it put him up on a stage and really showed him off as a star. And a lot of times they would do really cool moves on the ramp. It gave them different options for matches. So I always really liked the ramp. WWF, of course, has used a version of that or a version of ramps for different shows. A lot of times, most of their ramps will start out and then just taper off as it goes toward the ring. Uh-huh. And the famous steel-looking ramp they had on Raw for years would do that. But I actually like the ramp that goes all the way to the ring. I thought it had some cool possibilities. And I hate the WCW logo. You see the WCW logo in the background there they used for years? It's just ever so slightly angled to the point that it looks like it's a mistake. It doesn't look intentional.
Oh, no.
And I always hated that. Every pay-per-view, every major show they used that on, it always bugged me because it was clearly intentional, but at the same time, it just didn't look intentional. It looked like they messed it up.
I'm sorry.
It's like if you're going to angle it, make it more severe and show the whole thing, too. Don't cut it off to the point that it looks like you made a mistake.
That's fair. I have never personally paid much attention to the ramps.
WCW, of course, like we said, was originally Jim Crockett Promotions, which was part of the National Wrestling Alliance. And when I first started watching wrestling in late 1990, it was basically still referred to as NWA Wrestling. It was actually in the beginning of 1991 that they officially started calling it World Championship Wrestling, which had been the name of the 605 television show. It was Georgia Championship Wrestling, and then to make themselves look more national, they started calling it World Championship Wrestling, and then eventually Jim Crockett Promotions would end up with a time slot, and so it was actually the show was World Championship Wrestling, and then Turner bought it, and they may have officially changed the name, on the corporate end to World Championship Wrestling, but on TV it was still the NWA. So when I first started watching wrestling, we had the NWA and the WWF. Then before long, it would become the WWF and World Championship Wrestling. And of course, World Championship Wrestling would become the only real national competitor to the World Wrestling Federation, at least until the advent of AEW.
Very interesting.
And of course,
lots of name changes.
Would flame out spectacularly and end up being purchased by the World Wrestling Federation, which is why we're able to watch all this content now. So that's good, at least, that they preserved the content. Whether it was a good thing that they bought the company or not is another story.
But the fact that the content remains.
But I'm glad that the content is still out there by and large, even if it's not necessarily presented the way you want it all the time or as often as you want it. I'm still glad it's there to be seen.
Exactly. And it's much better of a format than it just being completely lost to the void. Why is everybody in the ring now?
Just completely missed that double drop kick.
Because why not?
The Young Pistols, like I said, they were the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys and then just the Southern Boys, and then they rebranded as Cowboys from Wyoming as the Young Pistols, but I was fine with it.
Did they do anything more after that?
No, not as a team. They'd go their separate ways and do other stuff. Tracy had big runs in Japan and was a big part of ECW, and they would both work for Jim Cornette's Smoky Mountain Wrestling, so they both stayed around the business, but not necessarily as a team.
What happened to Smoky Mountain Wrestling?
It went out of business.
Just out of business?
Yeah.
Just no longer existent in any way, shape, or form?
Just couldn't be. I think WWF does have some of the footage. There were episodes of the show on the network.
Interesting.
But yeah, it just wasn't financially sustainable at some point. That sort of territory wrestling just couldn't be sustained.
Continue to thrive.
In the mid-90s. Nowadays you might pull something like that off because there's so many other outlets to show off.
Very possible.
But, maybe not either. I don't really know the business. I love that spinning elbow right there off the top.
I was going to say,
I always like the spinning elbow. I don't care. I mean, Steve was holding Michael Hayes and Tracy came off on him. But even just a spinning elbow off the ropes, I always thought was a really cool move. Yeah,
I was going to say, it might be possible to pull off, that regional sort of stuff. But I don't know. I don't think nothing's going to be WWE.
I don't think you're pulling off a regional promotion now, but because of the things like YouTube and other ways to share content, I think you could pull off a smaller promotion.
Yeah.
All right, that guy right there interfering on behalf of the Freebirds. Now, that's actually Brad Armstrong, the brother of Steve Armstrong, who we saw earlier under a mask as they refer to him as Fantasia here, but then he would use the name Bad Street.
Interesting.
I thought it was a pretty cool gimmick. And then he's using what they end up calling the 911 DDT, where he does the DDT off the ropes there. The DDT was also the Freebirds' finishing move, but they would just do it in the middle of the ring. I always thought that 911 DDT off the ropes looked really cool. I'm not really sure that it should have, in theory, been any more devastating, because you're still just kind of doing the same move, but
yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Still neat.
And I like the Bad Street character. I thought he was
cool. Look at the little
cool.
kid in the audience.
Yeah.
So tiny.
Well, like we said, wrestling's always attracted a big audience from no matter, age, sex, race, creed, color, financial background. You're going to find people from all walks of life. But there's a good shot at the belts, too.
All.
Yeah, they do have the round side plates. I thought they did. I love those belts. I like
when
you have
orange or brown?
No, it's red.
It's red?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the USA on the front is actually painted red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette did that.
Nice.
Originally, it was just gold, and Jim actually did the painting on there.
Nice.
When the Midnight Express had the belts.
That's cool.
But yeah, I always like when you have a belt. I mean, I like the belt on the black strap,
Yeah.
It's classic and it looks good, but when you can have especially like a dark red, I think that makes for a really nice belt. Actually, the NWA the World Tag Team Championships that we were just talking about at this time, they were on a blue belt, like a dark blue belt. They're some of my favorite belts as well. They're on the lower end of my top 5, but I do really like those as well.
I'd assume if there has been, it would have been in women's wrestling, but has there been a bright pink belt? Yeah, belt.
Yeah, wasn't one of the versions of the women's belt?
I was thinking maybe. I was going to say maybe Divas.
I think there might have been a pink version. And at one time in the WWF, guys like Shawn Michaels and Ultimate Warrior would have different color straps for their belts.
Yeah.
There's famous like a white version of both the World Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. It's possible somebody did a pink background.
Yeah.
Back then. I don't specifically remember it, so I certainly don't want to say it happened, but we would see some other ones.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did see somebody DIY a Divas belt for an American Gold Doll, but I couldn't remember if the belt itself was actually pink or if just the Divas portion had some pink in it.
Ricky Morton coming to the ring. We've spoken about Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express. Ricky Morton was one half of the Midnight Express's greatest rival, the Rock and Roll Express. At this point, his partner Robert Gibson was injured, so Ricky's just been wrestling solo.
Does he have tassels?
Does he have what?
Tassels.
Yeah, maybe. He's also got like bandanas tied around his wrist and around his tights. That was a big part of the Rock and Roll Express's look. And he's got a mullet, too.
Oh, of course.
Also, Gary Michael Capetta is the ring announcer. My favorite ring announcer of all time. I've actually interacted with him a little bit on Twitter through the LexiCon account.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
I read his book, too. Really good book.
I've not read a wrestling book yet.
That's amazing, considering how many there are in the house.
Foley's got at least one, doesn't he?
There's Dangerous Dan Spivey, who we just saw in the crowd at Backlash, the most recent WWE
I don't like his outfit.
The most recent WWE PLE as of this recording. They showed Dangerous Dan in the crowd. This is basically just going to be a squash match here, which is like, it's fine. I understand getting the guys on the show and getting them a payday, but this is one of the things they could have cut out. And, given a little more room, a little more time to the main event matches. Because it's fine, but it's basically just a squash match. You could have done this on TV over the weekend. You could have saved it for the next week's shows or something. And like I say, I don't begrudge these guys getting a payday, because back then that is how this worked. You got
Definitely.
You got paid based on the shows you worked, so I get it. But, for the sanctity of the actual show, it would have been a little better off if you cut out some of these shorter matches to focus on the main matches.
I understand. I was going to say, I found a belt. It's mostly white, but then has some pink details on it. It's kind of pretty. According to this, it's a women's championship belt. Ooh, what is this?
And again, you got to understand, when it comes to wrestling belts, I'm going to know, World Championship Wrestling and the NWA and the WWF and ECW and a lot of the historical stuff, but as far as a lot of the modern companies, unless it's something like AEW, I'm not necessarily going to know all the different Japanese companies and the different independent groups in the United States. I don't know what their belts look like,
That's fair. And the Divas butterfly belt thing, from what I'm seeing, maybe there's more versions of it, but from what I'm seeing, the belt itself is black, and then the Divas,
that's the one I remember the most, but I was thinking there could have been a variant of it, too.
There could have been.
Because as we talked about occasionally, there are variant belts.
Yeah, I just hadn't found it yet. I am being recommended just some casual pink belts, though.
Yeah. I actually liked Dan Spivey at this time. I thought he was a good worker. He and Luger had a really good match for the United States title at the previous pay-per-view that we talked about, Wrestle War.
Yeah.
I like Dan Spivey, but he wouldn't be around much longer after this. He'd show up in the WWF as Waylon Mercy for a while, but injuries had kind of caught up to him, and he just wasn't able to really sustain it, so
he
wouldn't really be around much longer after this. I know he had, some runs in Japan. What were you saying?
I said I do not like those bandanas.
You need to speak a little louder.
I'm sorry, I don't like the bandanas.
Blasphemy.
I don't like the use of them. The bandanas design themselves, probably fine.
That's like signature Rock and Roll Express, though. And
okay.
One of the biggest tag teams in the history of tag teams.
I'm not liking his vibe in general, to be fair.
Jim Crockett Promotions, and all the young girls love the Rock and Roll Express.
The tassels are fine. The mullet can stay
the mullet is what it is, but he's hardly the only one to have a mullet in professional wrestling.
I know. As I said earlier, this is hardly out of the 80s, so.
Even into the 90s, that was, amongst wrestlers and hockey players, that was a very popular, and I guess country music artists too, that was a very popular hairstyle.
To be fair, within
I
certain
never
groups,
had a
it's
mullet.
still popular today, so...
Not intentionally, anyway.
Not intentionally. May have had one, but it wasn't intentional. I
did have a
could
couple
not.
of haircuts where my hair was a little shorter on the top, and I tried to have it a little longer in the back, but also, the school I went to back then, I couldn't have long hair. Boys weren't allowed to have long hair at the private school I went to, so...
Bullshit.
Ew.
Until I went to public school, I wasn't able to wear my hair long. And by the time I went to public school, I wasn't in the mood to have long hair, so I started wearing my hair shorter for a while.
Yeah.
And then I didn't grow my hair back out long until after I left school.
Damn.
So I may have had a haircut that mulletish, but it was never intentional.
I would probably shave my entire head again before I had a mullet. At least not that style of mullet.
Spivey with the power bombing. I was thinking about the power bomb the other day because it's a move that's very common nowadays. But back then it wasn't that common. It was mainly the domain of the big guys too. Like Sid Vicious used the power bomb. Spivey used it obviously. Vader would adopt it in like 92-ish. And Kevin Nash, when he became Diesel in the WWF, he would start using it as a finish. But it didn't really become super common in the United States until like the mid-90s when all the luchadors came to WCW and were wrestling on Monday Nitro, and you'd see them and some of the guys who'd wrestled in Japan. It was apparently a pretty common move in Japan amongst Japanese wrestlers, but I didn't get to see them wrestle that much.
I'd love to watch some Japanese wrestling.
There's some really good Japanese wrestling out there, I'm sure, and I'm sure there's really bad Japanese wrestling too.
I'm sure. I was going to say, how easily can I access it?
New Japan has an app,
Okay.
unless it's we had it for a little while, but I wasn't watching as regularly as I wanted to.
Yeah, what are those outfits? Except for that one on the left. That one's fine.
Well, Tom Zink, a.k.a. the Z-Man, rest in peace. He's just wearing like a kind of standard business suit with a little bit of a flashy tie. Tony Schiavone just has a tuxedo on with a red bow tie, and Missy's just got sort of a femme tuxedo, I would say, for lack of a better word.
I'm questioning the last two.
She's got the red bow tie, she's got the sport jacket, she's got like a red lacy bra underneath it.
I think it's the bow tie killing hers. For the guy in the middle, I don't know. Just something's killing his.
Missy was so fucking hot back then. Love Missy Hyatt. Oh my god, she's one of the hottest wrestling girls of all time.
Okay.
Dylan, what do you think about Missy? Thumbs up?
Sure.
Yeah, Missy was great.
Okay.
I check her out on Twitter every now and then. She's got some interesting takes. She's kind of a fun follow.
Good to know. I'm pretty much not on Twitter anymore. I'm hardly on anything anymore.
I'm sorry, X, or as
I'm
I
not
refer
on X
to it as
anymore.
Taff Cat.
Fair. I'm like I said, the app hasn't even been downloaded on my phone in months, at least. I occasionally pop onto Instagram. I spend too much time on Facebook and TikTok.
This vignette we're seeing right here, I don't know how well it's going to age. They were doing a bit where Missy was trying to get into the men's locker room to interview a wrestler. Because there were some issues going around as female reporters were becoming more common in sports, them going to the locker room. And so now they've got her running into Stan Hansen. He's not exactly very kind to her. I think he's spanking her with his cowboy hat.
Okay.
She's going to attempt to go in the locker room again. This was the previous pay-per-view. She's going to attempt to go in again on this show.
That's certainly an angle.
I'm going to call somebody. They got her being kind of whiny. Even at the time, I'm not sure it was that good, but
Somebody.
no
probably
disrespect to
enjoyed
Missy.
it.
It's not her fault.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if the premise was very good to begin with.
Directed it.
But it's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's a small part of the show.
It's far from the worst thing that's been on wrestling.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said, it's a small part of the show. Yeah, that's
Why is he just standing off like
that's
that?
just a lacy bra. That's a...
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't mad at it, though. Why is who just standing there? Z-Man?
The guy in the middle, he was kind of leaning towards the other guy.
Well, I mean, he's holding the microphone.
Yeah, but he was
kinda
just like
running the
leaning
segment.
away from her.
I don't know, giving her space.
I don't know.
Tony Schiavone's still working. He's one of the commentators for AEW nowadays.
Interesting.
And he's got a podcast, too, if you like that kind of thing.
Nice. I don't listen to enough podcasts. And I honestly don't say that as in please recommend some podcasts.
What, you're asking people to recommend podcasts?
No, I said I was not saying that as in please recommend.
Yo,
me.
you need some podcast recommendations, I hear? Alright, everyone, go down below and recommend Alex's podcast. Make sure you go in her direct messages to in every platform and recommend her podcasts.
Here's the second straight sort of filler match. I mean, they're named wrestlers to be sure, and I understand that you want Nikita to be on the show, so this one makes a little more sense because it's going to sort of pay off later. But it's essentially just a squash match, even though the gentleman in the ring right there, Wildfire Tommy Rich, former NWA World Champion.
Yeah.
Beat Harley Race for the title in the early 80s. A lot of people say it was just because Jim Barnett had a crush on him, but who knows.
I like his sparkly jacket.
And he's going to be facing the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff.
Okay.
Real name Scott Simpson from Minnesota, not actually Russian.
Not surprising.
Nightmare, I'm not sure. Of course, the kayfabe family member of your friend Vladimir Koloff.
Yeah. I was about to say, wait a second, Koloff.
Yeah, and look, they look a lot alike, too.
Yes, they do.
When Mom first showed me a picture of Vladimir when y'all met him at one of the cons, I was like, that's Nikita, isn't it? Like, it's crazy how much they look alike. It all started with Ivan Koloff.
I say they look legitimately related.
Famously ended Bruno Sammartino's 7-year run as WWF World Champion. He was the original. None of them are real Koloffs, of course. I don't think any of them are really Irish. I don't think any of them are Irish either. None of them are really Russian.
Somebody wanted to teach me Gaelic on my stream today.
But you had Ivan originally, and then Nikita came in as his kayfabe nephew, and then Ivan was still working around, and Nikita was out of wrestling, I think.
Yeah.
And that's when Vladimir came along to be the baby of the family.
Nice.
Again, none of them are really Russian. None of them are really Koloffs, but
none of them are really related as far as we know.
Correct. It's just one of those kayfabe wrestling families.
Yeah.
There's plenty of real families in wrestling.
Yeah.
That's just not one of them. But there's plenty of fake ones, too. So.
Yeah. But, on my stream, somebody who was, on the stream, not just in the chat, suddenly wanted to teach me Gaelic, and they were saying stuff, and they were like, okay, now you repeat it. And it's like, I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, that is the fucking craziest language as far as not saying what you think it should.
Not at all. I mean, I've heard that technically Japanese is the hardest for a native English speaker to learn because obviously it's a completely different alphabet, multiple alphabets, etc. Whatever. But Gaelic.
Yeah. I should point out because this match is not going to go very long. You saw when Nikita came down, he had the chains around his neck.
Yeah.
That was a big part of the Koloff gimmick was the Russian chain, and they'd have Russian chain matches, which is like a strap match, but it's got a chain instead of a strap.
Interesting.
And I believe when he was at LexiCon last year, our buddy Vladimir had some of the chains at his table.
Probably. Very fun to see him at shows.
Yeah, this was Nikita had just come back to the company. He was a big stalwart of Jim Crockett Promotions in the mid-'80s. And then I believe he left because his wife had gotten sick and she would pass away from cancer, I believe. And he was gone for a while, and he would come back at the very beginning, at the previous pay-per-view, in fact, when Lex Luger was the U.S. champion and they presented him with a new belt. And Nikita had come back to be part of the presentation, and he attacked Luger and kicked off initially a feud with him, and it would transition into a feud with Sting throughout the summer. And then he would become a babyface, if not by the end of the year, then by the beginning of the next year, and he would be teamed up with Sting and Ricky Steamboat and whatnot against the Dangerous Alliance.
Interesting.
Largely. So he had an interesting little run, and then I want to say by the end of '92, he was gone again, and I'm not sure he ever really wrestled any of the big companies again. I don't know the story of why he left then. I mean, it could have easily just been a contractual thing. Could have been a money issue. The company just wanted to go a different way as far as what he was doing personally. I don't know. I've seen him pop up in some of the wrestling documentaries, and it seems like he used to be real famous for always keeping the accent on in public and really, living the gimmick of being a Russian. But the documentaries I've seen of him lately, he doesn't do that.
Kind of makes sense.
And obviously, Vladimir's not really trying to carry over the gimmick when you meet him in person. And I can't speak for Ivan. Ivan's probably dead now. No offense. Again, he was a star wrestler back in the early '70s, so you would think time would have caught up with him at this point, quite possibly. I mean, he may still be alive.
Yeah, he died February 2017 in North Carolina.
Not a surprise, because he was big. He like I say, his biggest fame was in the WWF when he beat Bruno for the belt, but he worked a lot for Jim Crockett Promotions and some of the smaller companies around the Carolinas, and of course that's where he and not Ivan, he is Ivan. He and Vladimir would start teaming, would be in the North Carolina Independents.
Yeah, apparently he died of liver cancer. Apparently I'm going to bring death dates and causes.
I mean, for one thing, wrestling has a higher than normal mortality rate. People die younger if they've been in professional wrestling than they do from a lot of other, even sports, but even other walks of life. It's part of the lifestyle for various reasons. But also, we're watching a show right here that's 30 years old. And we're talking about people like Ivan who were wrestling back in the 60s. So it's not really surprised that a lot of them have passed away by now.
According to this, he debuted February 15th, 1963. He retired November 16th, 2013. That's a long time to do it.
And Nikita got the victory with his clothesline, the Russian sickle.
That's what.
What do we think about Nikita's trunks? It's the singlet, but instead of having like the short legs, it's cut off like a set of trunks.
It's kind of fine.
I don't like it in general, but I feel like Nikita pulled it off. I feel like it works for him.
All right.
On a lot of guys, I'm not fond of it. Like
Fair.
Josh Alexander, I think is the name of the wrestler who wears it that sort of gimmick now. I don't think it looks as cool on him. But I think Nikita pulled it off.
Fair.
And some of the big, like Andre and the Big Show, they wore like a one-strap version of it. It worked for them too, of course. But I thought it looked pretty okay on Nikita.
He looks young.
He was probably younger than me at that time. He was probably younger than I am now. Obviously, he's older than me in real life. But I would guess he's probably in his 30s. It's Tony Schiavone.
Okay. I'm going to find out how old he would be.
Schiavone or N-N-E.
Okay.
I believe here we're getting the television debut of Johnny B. Bad. Mark Marrow.
Interesting name.
Yeah, he's doing like a Little Richard gimmick, if you guys know who the legendary rock and roll musician Little Richard was.
By name, no. And that's if I know it at all.
That's sad.
I'm sorry.
You know Tutti Frutti?
Who?
Yeah.
That's Little Richard.
Okay.
I mean, he's kind of like the godfather of rock and roll, period, but that's as far as something you would know.
I was going to say, I might vaguely know the name, but I can't put it to anything.
But he had that sort of, the same hairstyle and mustache and the sort of, oh, hush, over-the-top sort of personality.
Yeah.
This is so obviously a Little Richard gimmick.
Yeah.
Mark Marrow out of wrestling now. He was the husband of Sable, who's now the wife of Brock Lesnar.
Nice. He would have been 33 on this show.
Tony, yeah, like I said, he's younger than I am now.
Yeah, he would have turned 34 later in the year. Boa.
And there's Teddy Long as his manager. He had recently been the manager of Doom, who had just split up. Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, who are going to have a match later on in this show. He was a referee for Jim Crockett Promotions. He was manager. He would be a referee and general manager and manager for the WWF, wrestling life for all intents and purposes. And then Mark Marrow would be Johnny B. Bad for...
His makeup doesn't match.
Yeah, and he's not black either.
Okay.
They're sort of trying to push him as a black man, but he's a white dude from Brooklyn.
Good to know. Wrestling is questionable. Why does his foundation look greenish?
It does. It looks really bad under those lights.
Does.
I never noticed. But then again, to be fair, I always watch this in black and white. So maybe I never really noticed because of that. I mean,
it probably made sense
in color when I watched it originally, but then my tape of it was in black and white. So.
I mean, from my understanding, when actually filming black and white, a lot of times makeup would not be the color it theoretically should have been because they had to have it.
Yeah, well, this wasn't filmed in black and white.
Yeah, I know certain things. So I'm just saying, if it was black and white, it probably would have made sense.
I mean, he did this persona for a good, well, let's see, this is 91, right?
Yeah.
And he'd be in WWF in 96. So he probably had about a 5-year run as Johnny B. Bad. I didn't notice him looking green most of the time, so I think they got it under control at some point.
Probably. They probably started to realize, you know what, he kind of looks green. What can we do about this?
Also, Mark Marrow, legitimate Golden Gloves boxer.
Yeah.
Before his wrestling days. And now I think he's a motivational speaker.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay.
he's a motivational speaker.
Nice.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I'm not.
Not at all.
It's just a fact. This is what he does now.
It's like that's one way it can go. It's very interesting how many different ways it can go. Going wrestling, and then leaving wrestling, and then where the hell do you go after wrestling?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people don't wrestle their whole lives, and
that is true.
And especially back,
Dustin
the whole con circuit thing is just in the last 10 years or so. That's really become a major source of income for people.
Yeah.
You couldn't necessarily live off that back in the day. Yeah, that's the other son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Cody's half-brother.
Nice. They do look quite similar.
Well, it doesn't hurt they all have the bleach blonde hair.
Facts.
I'm not saying they don't have a familiar resemblance otherwise, but...
What's their natural hair color?
Well, Cody's a brunette.
Interesting.
I don't know about Dusty or Dustin.
So I didn't know if they were brunettes or if they were a shade of blonde.
I mean, unless Cody dyed his hair brunette. Because when Cody first started wrestling, he was a brunette.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking at so many things.
Oh, speaking of Cody, do you remember last year you and I did a WrestleMania episode? Not the big WrestleMania episode with Gabby, but we did a second one where we watched just a couple of matches.
Yeah.
And we saw Cody's boot that had the triangle on it, and we made jokes about it. It was the fucking Triforce. He literally got a cease and desist letter from Nintendo. It actually was the fucking Triforce.
Why was it the Triforce?
Because he was a Zelda fan.
Yeah, but clearly they didn't have the licensing.
The lady in the front there, her wrestling name at this point is Alexandra York.
Yeah.
Her name was Terry. I don't remember her last name at the time. I just know her as Terry Reynolds because she would marry Dustin.
Okay.
For a time, and would be a couple. They'd be an on-screen couple as Goldust and Marlene in the WWF a few years after this. I mean, they're long divorced at this point.
Yeah.
But this is around. She was a makeup artist, I think, for WCW before she started doing this.
Lots of bedazzling.
Before she started doing this gimmick, where she had the computer and she made these computerized game plans for her wrestlers.
Okay.
Started with Bray Wyatt's dad, Mike Rotundo. When he was he Michael Wall Street? Yeah, I think it was Michael Wall Street. And then when he left for the WWF to become IRS, she took on Terry Taylor as her charge. And he was the computerized man of the 1990s, Terry Taylor.
Okay.
Maybe I think he was Terrence Taylor at that point.
Maybe.
Terry was a good wrestler.
He's very bedazzled.
He was a good wrestler. I always liked Terry Taylor. As an in-ring performer. Maybe the personality didn't always come through, but he was a very good in-ring performer. Could usually count on a good match from Terry. And he would be a creative... I don't know what to say. He would be, behind the scenes creatively for both the WWF and WCW throughout the years. And I think he worked for TNA. And I don't know what his creative input was. I mean, it's hard to say. It's just somebody watching from the outside. But he spent plenty of years doing it, so he must have had some value to the companies.
Yeah. Understandable.
There's a dude sitting in the front row there. You see with the black shirt?
Yeah.
He looks like he's either a pro wrestler or like an 80s movie actor. Like an action actor.
I could see it. I could absolutely see it.
Oh, I should point out, too, this is St. Petersburg, Florida is where this is originating from.
All
Not
right.
far from where they just had Backlash in Tampa. The same, St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay is the same area in
How does
Florida.
all of this compare to Orlando?
Opposite coasts.
Okay.
Tampa and St. Petersburg are on the west coast of Florida. Orlando's closer to the east coast.
I thought Orlando was
Orlando's a little more
central.
central, but it's
From
toward
Miami
the
was
eastern,
coast.
It's south.
Okay.
The southeastern coast. But
Interesting.
Orlando's more closer to the east. It is a little more central, but...
Good to know. Orlando's where all the big stuff is, isn't it?
I suppose it's where the amusement parks are.
Yeah. All the big stuff. It's where the American Gold stuff
Although there's
is.
probably other amusement parks in Florida, too, when it comes right down to it.
Probably. But the ones that I was referring to that you completely understood are in Orlando.
Yeah, like Disney and Universal and
Exactly.
SeaWorld. I guess SeaWorld's still around. You don't really hear much about it anymore.
Other than the controversies.
Controversies?
Yep.
Is that a female controversy?
Yep.
Make sure you get your controversies pronouns right.
Look, it's already controversial. You can't be disrespecting it.
This is one of the matches that's cut off from the VHS release. Like I say, for some reason, Turner Broadcasting Home Video, whatever it was called, they seem to want to get their commercial releases down to 2 hours, so they cut off stuff. And apparently, everything from the Dan Spivey Ricky Morton match that we talked about through the next 2 matches after this were cut off. And like I say, most of those you could do without. Even this one, which is the best match of the bunch, it's not like it really meant that much at the time.
What device is that?
I don't know. It's some sort of a... It looks very similar to what Lewis and Gilbert had during the concert scenes in Revenge of the Nerds, which I know means nothing to you, but that was an 80s representation of computer technology.
Interesting.
How accurate that was, I can't speak on, because I wasn't really in that scene at that time.
Fair. Also, I had another question.
It's some sort of computer-like device, whether it's a legitimate computer or not.
Also, I had another question that has nothing to do with this, but what typing device was between the typewriter and the modern-day keyboard?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. What would be?
I don't know. I was reading an American Girl book the other day, and they were talking about typing up papers, but I think it was set in, maybe either the 60s or 70s, probably the 70s, and I sat there like, what are they typing papers on?
Oh, well, I mean, it could be like a word processor.
What's a word processor? I know you've mentioned it, but what is
I had a
word
word. I
processor?
literally had a word. That's what I used
did.
to write my movie scripts on. It's sort of like a typewriter with a monitor.
Okay. Typewriter
It's very similar to like an electric typewriter.
I was going to say, that kind of makes sense to go from typewriter, with monitor, computer.
To be fair, too, like Word
Yeah.
is word processing software.
Yeah.
It's that, but without a computer and without the full
It's just
host
like
of
the
capabilities,
base
but you can still type and delete.
You've
and,
got the screen, the keyboard, and the program.
Copy and paste, yeah.
Yeah.
And the one I
those
had...
were the 70s?
The one I had, too...
And further on, but...
It had a monitor. Well, I don't know if it's... I'm just saying that's what it could be.
Yeah.
I got mine in 97, so...
How long... Computers were a thing by 97, weren't they?
Yeah, but they were more expensive.
Fair. They were like 3D printers. You had to wait for them to become...
It was like... I had a monitor, and I had the big... It was the keyboard and the printer built in together. You could actually type straight onto paper like a typewriter, or you could type on the monitor and then print. It was actually really,
I actually kind of like that.
It was actually really neat for what it was. Like I said, obviously it couldn't do nearly as much as a computer did, but it was...
but like if you're only writing, that actually does sound kind of neat.
All those floppy disks. It was me. I tapped your leg.
Oh.
I was trying to get your attention.
It didn't feel like you tapping my leg, so I was so confused.
Those 3.5-inch floppy disks I have downstairs, that's what the word processor used to store data on. That's another thing. It could store stuff on disks.
I didn't realize that word processors use floppy disks.
That one did.
Good to know.
So, yeah. So, it was actually really neat.
Do you have any actual floppy disks?
Like the big flat ones, no. But
like the floppy ones?
Yeah. Like I say, I didn't even start having them at all until I got my word processor. And then my first couple of computers had floppy disk drives, but it was the little rigid 3.5-inch ones.
Did any of the computers once I was around have floppy disk drives?
Yeah. The desktop we had at home.
I was going to say, I remember having the floppy disks and like you storing them by the computer, but I didn't remember if the computer actually
I still had a built-in floppy disk drive on my computer.
I assume we don't have a way to read them nowadays.
Not right now. It probably wouldn't be hard to get a floppy disk reader. I bet there's a portable one that you could get.
It might be. Maybe they're not producing them anymore.
It could be. I don't know. We just have to look it up. I've thought about it before because I've got some interesting stuff on there.
Nice.
Well, interesting to me. It's not that. Just old movie scripts and fantasy football stuff,
Still like it.
Still be cool to access it.
And
like I say, even when I had my desktop computer, I would still use floppy disks, so there's still stuff from that era, too.
Nice. I was going to say, thinking about, like, vintage technology and whatnot, when I was looking up the VCRs, apparently the first machine of that sort of thing is from 1957. But it wouldn't actually become, like, a home common thing until the 70s.
Computers go back that far, too. They're just huge, room-filling, industrial-sized computers.
It's just so crazy to think these things do go that far back. It just took so long for them to be smaller and home and all that, and, like, daily use kind of thing. Yeah. But it's also crazy to think, like, hey, that's what that was less than 100 years ago, and this is what the fuck it is now.
$15, $13 for a floppy disk reader. We could easily get one.
Much cheaper than a portable DVD player.
Damn it. Now I'm going to go spend $15. Okay. This is your fault.
Yeah, kind of.
You owe me money now.
Damn it. I don't have $15.
It's not that expensive.
I'm probably going to owe you $15 by the end of the month.
I needed to order some movies for the episodes
things.
of the podcast coming up soon. It's going to be so easy to slip this into the cart.
It is. Very easy. Only $15. Not bad at all. I think the cheapest portable DVD player I looked at was like $50 or $60, and that's just for DVD. They were like $200-$300 if you want Blu-ray.
I don't need a portable one. A home one is fine. I would like to get some new Blu-ray players, but like I say, even them, they're running like $100.
I don't know exactly why, but I would love a portable one.
At this point, I want a Blu-ray player because I have Blu-rays and DVDs, and it'll play both. If I get one that just plays DVDs, then I can't play my Blu-rays.
Yeah, and I mean, technically I have Blu-rays. I also hardly have either of those. I am hoping, if I get to go thrifting this summer, to thrift some Barbie and American Girl movies. Yeah, but all those will probably be
all
DVD.
These Blu-ray players are right at $100 and up.
Blah.
I know, right? That stinks.
Yeah.
Not enough people are using,
No,
media anymore.
There's been like a mild shift in interest
but it hasn't been enough to shift.
Exactly. I was going to say that there's a mild shift to interest in physical media again right now. But yeah, no, it's not enough to help those costs.
The guy on the apron in the pimp hat with the black glove, that's Curtis Hughes.
Alright.
He was the big cat, Curtis Hughes, stuck around wrestling for a bit. He would be Triple H's bodyguard for a little while in the WWF right before China.
Yeah.
The guy would stick around a little bit. You'd see him a bit. Apparently he was a narcoleptic.
Okay.
I don't know if he ever fell asleep, like, on the ring apron waiting for a tag or anything, but he was all right. He wasn't a bad wrestler.
Yeah.
Never really went anywhere significant, but like I said, you'd see him around in the two major companies for a while in the 90s. And Dustin gets the win.
I was trying to look up word processors. Maybe like roughly 60s, 70s seems to be the early years for him.
Dustin was a good wrestler back then. I really liked him. He was still pretty young. This was only like his second or third year in wrestling, but he was good.
Yeah, at least the electronic.
I enjoyed Dustin's matches. He was one of the highlights of wrestling when I first became a fan. Like I say, this era of wrestling, especially in the United States, is not considered a high point. It's really kind of a down era, but not error, down era.
Yeah.
But I really like a lot of it. Not only am I just nostalgic for it, but obviously it was good enough at the time to hook me on professional wrestling. So clearly there's some value that I found there.
Yeah.
So I really like going back and watching these shows. This is still kind of... I mean, I love the Attitude Era, don't get me wrong. Of course,
one of the best eras,
the excitement of not
best.
knowing what's going to happen every week and the big personalities. And there was great wrestling going on as well, and just the enjoyment of... watching every week with my dad and going to the shows and whatnot. So I'm always going to have a special place in my heart for the Attitude Era. But I really like wrestling, especially, like I say, the end of 1990, 1991, 1992. By 1993, especially later in the year, my interest started to wane a little bit. And 1994 wasn't a great year. But then by 1995, I started really getting back into it. And that spilled over to 1996, which is still one of my favorite years in wrestling.
Big hat.
And that's going to kick off the Monday Night Era and the Attitude Era and the NWO and whatnot. And 97 I thought was kind of a disjointed year, but it was still a great year to watch. And then 98 was really good. And into, the end of the decade where wrestling was really peaking.
Yeah.
And like I said, I still really like what was going on back then. I'll stand up and defend this wrestling. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not going to you don't have to. But I still think there's a lot of value here if you look for it.
Yeah. Really quickly before I close Wikipedia. According to this, the first word processing device was patented in 1713.
Wow.
But it wasn't until a century later or so. Well, no, a century later, another patent appeared for the typographer.
You gotta pause.
What the fudge?
Yeah, Matt Bourne, who would become Doink the Clown in the WWF in less than a year. He was the lumberjack Big Josh at this point, and yeah, he's got a pair of bears. Which is actually not that out of place, because there are legitimate wrestling bears. It was a big thing during the territory days. There were bears that would tour around.
What has it sung out?
Guys would actually wrestle the bears, so that's actually not that crazy.
I am questioning
it was kind of cool
feel?
to see him there.
Why? Etc.
Somebody else would have to answer that question. I mean, I've heard some stories about them, but I don't have enough insight to really answer that question.
And also, but the fact that they walk out on two legs. Love it. They're so cute. But, the typographer was something a century later. Late 19th century, the first recognizable typewriter was a thing and was described as a literary piano.
Cool. A little bit of trivia. Big Josh,
yeah.
Real name Matt Bourne, son of Tough Tony Bourne, longtime wrestler in the Pacific Northwest. He actually was in, I believe, the opening match at the first WrestleMania.
Okay.
He and Ricky Steamboat wrestled in one of the first matches. I think it was the opening match at WrestleMania in '85, but it was one of the early matches. So they had been around for a while. They did an angle here in early '91 where he came out of the crowd to save his buddy Tommy Rich, who we saw in the match with Nikita Koloff.
Uh-huh.
And then, they arrest him and he broke the handcuffs, and that was the whole deal. Then, like I say, within a year from now, he's going to be in the WWF as Doink the Clown, who I know we've seen on some show.
We may have.
How can you not remember well, maybe we haven't, because I think you would have remembered the Wrestling Clown.
I don't remember. I do know who that is, though. My friend has told me all about them. Well, not all about them, but they're on plenty of shows that they.
He was the original Doink the Clown. There would actually be other Ray Apollo and Steve Lombardi would also both play Doink the Clown, but Matt was the original one.
Doink the Clown is certainly something.
I believe this was actually supposed to be a different match. It was supposed to be Big Josh, but I think it was supposed to be... I maybe missed... It's either the Big Josh match on this show or on the next pay-per-view. It was supposed to be Big Josh against somebody else, and the other guy was hurt or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's wrestling Black Bart here. It was actually kind of a name in the territory days. I believe he was actually Mid-Atlantic champion in Jim Crockett Promotions, but by this point he was just a jobber. Or enhancement talent, whatever you want to refer to it. But,
yeah.
He'd show up on the show just to put the big names over.
Understandable.
Which again is like, I get you want to get Josh on the show because he's somebody who's just come into the company and you're trying to push him, but... And again, if this is the case where somebody was hurt and you had to come with a last-minute replacement, fine, I get that. But you would think you'd come with a little bit better booking for him, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, my child decided to be noisy.
So, Dylan, what do you think about the wrestling lumberjack, Big Josh?
The Bears.
Interesting.
What did you think about the Bears?
Why do you have bears? Why do you have bears?
I don't know. Because bears.
Because he's a lumberjack.
I'm not sure what that has to do with bears, honestly.
Hi, lumberjacks walk around in the bears all the time. They use them to chop down trees.
He's out in the woods all the time with his bear buddies.
The lumberjack and the bear chopping down trees together.
No, imagine he chops down the tree had a beehive in it, now the bears have the honey.
That's one story I've heard about when guys would wrestle the bear.
Yeah.
As a prank, some of the other wrestlers would get like a sugary sweet mix on their hand, like pat the guy on the butt, like, have a good match, man, and then the bear would be constantly going after their butt the whole match.
Why did we wrestle bears?
I mean, it's just an attraction. Like, see, you know, wrestling goes back to the carnivals. It's that sort of, an attraction.
I mean, yeah. But at the same time, it's just like, when and why did humans be like, you know what? I would fight that.
Well, I mean, look, the bears are trained. They probably got a muzzle on. They're not really fighting them to the death or really trying to fight them to get the pin. I mean, it's wrestling's a work. You know that.
Well, I would much rather watch an actual wrestling bear than a bear in a muzzle.
So you just want to see people get killed?
True.
Look, I'm sorry.
Not true as in, yes, I would like to see that, but true as in, yeah, the bear would absolutely be winning that match.
Y'all know me. I'm not afraid of much, but a bear is something I do not want to fuck with.
Yeah.
Facts.
Bears and big cats, no thank you.
Absolute facts. Like, at any time
they're fucking terrifying when you really think about it.
Being relatively nice, I'm just sitting here like, okay, I need every bolt on every door.
I'm not like actively afraid of them, but they're not something I want to tangle with. Most animals, if I have to, I mix it up with them. You know,
not a bear.
But yeah, I'm not gonna mess with a bear.
Not only
big cat.
are they extremely strong and whatnot, but they're smart.
Oh yeah. And
Very
fast,
smart.
they can climb.
It's crazy how big they are, yet they're also
strong as can
fast.
Be.
Bears are terrifying.
Claws,
like, not actually scary, but terrifying.
Thank you. I think they're awesome. I love bears, but I do not want to fuck with one.
Exactly.
Like I say, I love animals, and most of them don't bother me. And if I had to fucking, mess with one for some reason, I would, but not a bear.
Fair.
Oh, now you guys are going to see somebody you should recognize.
Okay.
In a Vegeta-like pink shirt. Let's see if y'all can figure out who it is.
It's going to be a lot of silence.
Maybe you more than Dylan Oz, because you do pay a little more attention to modern wrestling, but...
Modern wrestling?
I mean, you might see it on the closed captioning, but... You really don't know who that is?
Not yet.
You want me to still give you some time?
Maybe?
No clue.
I was saying, I'm terrible with names and memory and all that.
I will say he's...
And connecting modern wrestling to the 90s?
He had a gimmick at the time where he carried a cell phone, and a lot of times he would have, like, the big gray brick phone, the Zach Morris style phone. But right there, he's just got a fucking portable phone from, like, inside your house.
Okay.
I guess they only had so much of a budget. Sometimes they had to use what they could get their hands on. And to be fair, like, that was a new technology at the time. Maybe some of them could have looked like that.
Yeah. I would say, how were cell phones in the 90s? Especially the very early 90s.
They were the big gray brick phones like you see Zach Morris have on. Say you had that, and then you had like car phones that were attached to the car themselves.
Okay.
And it would be the mid 90s before we started getting the big gray flip phones.
Oh, I was gonna say, when did we get the cute little ones, the very Y2K ones?
Early 2000s.
Damn. I remember 2009, I guess, is when I got my first phone / flip phone, and I got that cute little pink poodle thing to put it in.
So Stan Hansen back in the ring for the interview. He's sort of mocking the interviewer who had come out with the cowboy hat on.
I have no idea who it is.
It's Paul Heyman.
Oh, what?
Yeah. He's Paulie Dangerously was his professional name at the time, but yeah, that's...
How was I supposed to get that?
That's what is he now, the Oracle of the Visionary? Because he looks just like himself?
From what I've seen, no, he doesn't.
Just 100 pounds, just 100 pounds lighter?
I was going to say, the two of us, what we've seen of Paul Heyman, that's not Paul Heyman.
Well, you look at his face. I mean, it's Paul.
I'm not very good at recognizing faces.
I relatively am. But to be fair, you just said like 100 pounds lighter, and 100 pounds makes a difference.
Oh, yeah, probably easily. Maybe even more. Paul's a large man nowadays.
What the fuck is in his mouth?
Tobacco. Chewing tobacco.
It looks disgusting.
In Stan's mouth, not Paul. Stan, legendary. Broke Bruno Sammartino's neck legitimately. Not on purpose. And then, they drew one of the biggest crowds of all time at Shea Stadium for the revenge match. Legendary wrestler in Japan. Left a little bit of tobacco juice on the microphone.
Ew.
That's Paulie Dangerously.
Extremely.
Paul Heyman, he was an announcer for WCW at the time. By the end of the year, he would go back to being a manager, and he would form one of the greatest factions of all time, the Dangerous Alliance, who only stayed around for about a half a year, but they were really, really good.
The fact that they were so good, but they're only around half a year.
It was short-lived, but it was Rick Rude, Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Larry Zbyszko, with Paul Heyman as the manager and Medusa as the... I don't know what you'd call her. She was more than just a valet. She was sort of an enforcer for them. But yeah, they were a great group. They were probably, to me, second only to the Four Horsemen as the greatest wrestling factions of all time.
Fair. He's also got a lot more hair.
Yeah, he's got a big bald spot nowadays. But you can see he's going bald there, too. It's starting.
Yeah. I mean, how old would he have been then?
Probably about the same age as Shivani.
Yeah.
Maybe a little younger, maybe 30.
Definitely fell into balding age.
Oh, here we go. This is something. I don't feel the need to turn on the music, but this is not one of the more well remembered. This is one of the reasons that people look down so much on this era of professional wrestling. At the time, the guy who was running WCW thought they needed more movie style tie-in, so they came up with a gimmick here based on the Wizard of Oz.
Awesome.
For Kevin Nash.
Okay.
Who he was Diesel. You remember Diesel,
yes.
right?
Oh, yeah. That's the guy that could have pulled off the outfit I didn't like on the other guy.
Much more well known just by his real name of Kevin Nash. Had some real pointed things to say about TKO not that long ago on his podcast.
Okay.
But first really came to prominence as Diesel in the WWF, and right now he's Oz. Kevin Nash was somebody who I was really impressed with the first time I saw him. Though he was one part of a tag team called the Master Blasters.
Okay.
And he was the first guy I'd seen who was really tall but also really muscular. Okay. I mean, Sid Vicious was tall and muscular, but Kevin was close to 7 feet tall. Yeah, here we go. We have the great. Actually, I think they call him the Grand Wizard.
Oh
the Grand Wizard was an actual wrestling manager in the WWF. I think they were calling him the Great Wizard, but that's Kevin Sullivan. Again, R.I.P. recently deceased Kevin Sullivan.
Damn.
Legendary wrestler and booker. Playing the Wizard. But then we've got the fucking Tin Man and Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion.
I love it.
Coming up to this backdrop of a castle that reminds me more of Castle Grayskull than anything.
Not gonna lie, we need more of this nowadays.
No,
modern
we don't.
wrestling.
No,
Yes.
shut the fuck up.
That's so goofy.
I love it.
No.
Yeah, it's goofy, but it's not as goofy as some of the bad shit they've done.
I will say though, my friend Jason, he really liked the Oz character. He got it. I don't think he cared about this part with the fucking Wizard of Oz characters in the castle.
This part is just weird
but just
way.
the big guy in the sort of over the top gimmick. He thought Oz was really cool.
Like I said, this is just weird, but
like I said, I was really impressed by Kevin Nash because, like I say, I was used to like really tall. I mean, there was like Andre who was tall, but he was really heavy. He was big and strong, but he wasn't muscular per se. He didn't look muscular. And then you had like Gigante, who was 7'7", but he was very skinny.
That's huge.
Kevin was the first guy I saw who was around that 7 foot mark who was actually muscular.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he was a great wrestler or anything, and he never really would be. Serviceable at best. Obviously had a lot of personality once he was allowed to show it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then again, I mean, this is silly.
I love it.
Like I say, once you take off the robe and everything, he's just a big dude kicking ass in the ring. He's fine, but this is...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the monkey has a diaper on, too, if you hadn't noticed.
Dude, they've got a monkey.
Oh, yeah, y'all didn't see the monkey on Kevin's shoulder? Yeah.
So goofy.
I love it, though. But to be fair, I do also really like the Wizard of Oz, so...
This was silly. This was ridiculous and over the top. And this is another match to, like, cut this shit out. Save it for the Saturday night show where more people are going to see it anyway. Save this, because, I mean, the match itself is going to be a squash that goes, like, 2 minutes. But with the interest and everything, you're eating up another 8 minutes of the show that you could have given to another match.
Yeah.
Is this part of what got cut, or?
Yeah, this is cut from the tape. I think this is the last thing that's cut from the tape. But again, to be fair, like, okay, it's the debut of Oz, and they had this whole elaborate get-up. But the match means nothing.
Debut, that makes sense.
I was gonna say, if it's the debut, were they trying to do this every single time, or just for the debut?
No, they cut it back.
Yeah.
I think they might have had the Castle backdrop at one more show, at the Clash of the Champions that followed this, and then by Great American Bash, it's just him and Kevin coming down in the costumes, but they didn't have all the other shit.
Mm-hmm.
No monkeys.
No monkeys.
And yet the other guy could have bears.
He got it for this show. He didn't have the bears in any other shows.
Damn.
I mean, he still got 2 bears versus 1 monkey, but...
But see, I mean, look, Kevin is tall and he's jacked. I mean,
yes.
You didn't see that a lot. Like I say, most guys who were that tall were not that built.
And also very green.
In more ways than one. He was a very, very young, inexperienced wrestler at the time.
Yes.
And the gray hair,
I was
too.
not familiar with that term until I started reading Bridgerton.
I didn't know that. I'm surprised it never came up anywhere.
Yeah,
it probably did, and you probably just didn't take notice of it.
Yeah, but then I noticed in Bridgerton it said quite a few times for, like, the younger brothers.
And just like that, it's over.
Damn. That was quick.
The all-powerful Oz.
70 minutes of opening just for 2 seconds.
It's kind of like modern wrestling. It's been half the damn show on your entrance, and then, maybe you have time for a match, maybe you don't. At least we didn't have as many commercials back on these shows.
Fair.
I mean, to be fair, it would have been even more annoying when you're paying $30 a show. Yeah, it's just an airplane spin of some description.
Still looks painful.
I don't really see that much. He didn't even use it that much after this. He'd use other moves. He'd use the snake eyes where he'd drop the guy's face down on the turnbuckle in the corner, and then he'd start using the power bomb.
That guy was over fucking selling, and there's no reason for those shoulders to still be down.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Speak up so the whole class can hear you.
that was a mumble to the person next to me statement.
Yeah, no, you can share with everybody. It's fine.
I was saying that guy was overselling way too much, and there was absolutely no reason for his shoulders to be down other than the fact that they wanted the match to go that quickly.
Well, at the same time, you just took a big hit on the mat, and you're kind of woozy.
Yeah, no, but the way he's looking and moving, it's like, yeah, pick up your fucking shoulders,
I don't think it's
dude.
ridiculous to think if you just were, had a really jarring impact that you might be kind of dazed. I'm like, oh,
yeah, no,
what?
I could buy that. Just the way he was generally looking and behaving, though, did not give that.
Well, here's Missy's second foray into the locker room.
Looks a little more successful this time.
It's not going to be.
I said a little. Also, that guy looks stressed and panicked, though, so.
You look stressed and
I don't know why he looked. I mean, his match
know.
is done already. That's Terry Taylor. We saw him wrestle earlier. I mean, he is selling sort of like he's frustrated because he lost his match. He doesn't want to be bothered right now.
Fair. Why don't cats have thoughts on wrestling?
Alex, stop talking so quietly. We don't need these quiet little sides.
That wasn't a statement that needed to be that loud. Yeah, I was wondering why cats don't seemingly have thoughts about wrestling. I mean, like, they very much could, assuming they even understand the concept.
I don't know why Stan needed to take a shower. All he did was do a quick little interview with Paul Lee, but...
I don't like this dude.
And he's going to spank her with the hat again.
There's nothing I like about that dude.
No, I heard Stan's a good guy, like in real life.
Okay, maybe the actual dude. The character, no thank you.
Yeah.
He's just a big, brawling cowboy.
Okay. I don't have to like big brawling cowboys.
Probably a heel during most of his career.
I definitely don't have to like heels.
No, you don't have to like anybody. I'm just saying that you shouldn't judge him just on these 2 stupid segments that he didn't script.
Fair, but so far, what I have seen of him character-wise, I don't enjoy.
Yeah, to be fair, his presentation wasn't that appealing to me, the big tobacco-chewing cowboy. Throughout my years as a wrestling fan, I've learned to appreciate what he brings to the table. But that was probably the more Americanized persona. It probably wasn't that turned up back in the 70s when he was breaking Bruno's neck, and it's probably way different of a presentation from what he would do in Japan.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Fair.
Alright, what do we got here? Oh, okay, tape. This is when the show really is going to start to pick up. Yeah, Flying Brian and Barry Windham, 2 of the best in-ring wrestlers at the time.
Have we discussed that guy before?
Which one?
Barry. The name sounds familiar.
Possibly. So. I'm sure we probably discussed him at some point.
But I don't specifically remember seeing his name in a text, so.
One of Flair's big rivals during his days as the NWA champion back in the 80s, and also a teammate of Flair's in one of the iterations with the Four Horsemen. Wrestling family, too, but he's Bray Wyatt's uncle.
Okay.
His sister married Mike Rotunda. His father was the legendary Blackjack Mulligan, longtime rival and partner of Ric Flair. His brother Kendall was also a wrestler, not as much not as of without as much renown as his brother.
Yeah,
but definitely a working wrestler. This is a point where I think technically the Four Horsemen have disbanded at this point, but they were still a thing earlier in the year, and Barry was a member of it, and Pillman was one of the baby faces they were feuding with, and so this is just sort of a continuation of that feud.
Right.
And this is the taped fist match, and the
idea is...
A lot of
black vests on this show.
Yeah. The idea is, first off, punches are legal, which technically they're not legal in a standard wrestling match, but also the tape on your fist would help cut your opponent open and make your punches more severe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What is with all the black vests?
I mean, a black vest is cool.
Yeah.
There's not much more to say about it than that.
I don't know. I haven't been obsessed with some of these.
Flying Brian, the late Flying Brian, passed away either the night before or the morning of the Bad Blood pay-per-view in October of '97.
Damn.
Which saw the debut of the Hell in the Cell.
Damn.
Wearing the Tiger Stripe tights because he had been a football player. He's from Cincinnati. He played for the Bengals and for the Bills briefly.
Alright.
As an undersized nose tackle. Really good pro wrestler. He's been wrestling about, I don't know if... Well, he'd been wrestling in WCW for 2 or 3 years at this point. I know he wrestled in Calgary before that.
How many wrestlers have gone from football to wrestling?
A fair number.
I say it has to be a good bit. Technically, The Rock played football a bit, didn't he?
He played it. He played at the University of Miami, and he played a little bit in the Canadian Football League. He wasn't a pro player in the United States.
No, but he did college football, then a little bit of professional summer, and then wrestling.
But there are guys like Bronco Nagurski, the Hall of Famer from the Green Bay Packers. He was a world champion in wrestling.
Nice.
Leo Nomalini. Wahoo McDaniel was a pro football player and legendary wrestler. Barry's dad, Blackjack Mulligan, I believe, played pro football under his real name, Bob Windham. And I mean... Yeah, lots of guys who were college football players and then became pro wrestlers. Roman was a football player. I think he was. I think he actually was on a pro team for a little while. I don't know if he spent much time on him. Bill Goldberg, of course, was a professional football player. So there's certainly been a lot. I'm not saying it's the vast majority of
lots of
wrestlers, but there's been plenty of them. And I mean, that's not surprising either, because there's a lot of cross. A lot of people who play sports play more than one sport. So.
Yeah, I remember there was a movie, obviously, I think fictional movie.
That's
I think
a big
it was a
move
Disney
there.
movie.
The Pillman drop kick Windham off the top. And Windham's 6'7", and he's falling off the top rope to the floor. That's a big move.
Yeah, but I remember some movie from when I was a kid was about this girl who wanted to ice skate, but her teacher made her play hockey to help her with something in terms of ice skating.
Well, you do ice skate in hockey, so...
That is true. It's a little bit different,
at least ice hockey.
True. Again, it's a little bit different, but I guess the general don't fall is the same.
Yeah, Barry's already busted open here. Probably not hard way. I'm sure it's probably a blade job.
It kind of looked it.
You saw him doing it?
Not necessarily, just I saw his hand and the way it was moving. It's like maybe he was just holding himself, maybe he's not.
You did see it. I was kind of mocking you, but maybe you did. I got you. I didn't see that moment, so...
Like I said, maybe not. I don't know. I don't.
Barry was one of the wrestlers who wore the cowboy boots. Now, obviously, they didn't have the heel like a real cowboy boot. The heel it's a flat bottom.
Yeah.
But it's designed to look like a cowboy boot. He and Dustin were the two big practitioners of that at the time, but certainly not the only ones who did it. And we should point out too, Brian before his death, he and it would take a lot more time to really do it justice, but he was when he was working for WCW in '96, he came up with this loose cannon gimmick where he was just crazy and doing all kinds of crazy things, and convinced Eric Bischoff to actually release him as part of the storyline so they could build it up that he wasn't part of the company, and then went and signed with the WWF.
Yeah.
For a bigger deal. Kind of played the company, but sort of a legendary angle perpetrated by Pillman. And like I say, this isn't really the focus of this episode, so it would take a lot more to do it justice, but you can, go read up on it in multiple places or find some videos on the history of it. But a very interesting time in wrestling.
Alright.
And Brian's bleeding here, too. Again, even though the tape supposedly cuts you, I'm assuming this is not hardway blood from either guy. But you never know. It does happen for sure. And like I say, I wasn't personally watching closely enough to see them cut themselves.
Yeah.
Even if the camera work was sloppy enough to catch it. Which, it does happen plenty of times.
Definitely.
If you're watching, you'll see. I know,
I feel like it can be relatively tricky not to catch it.
Like, Brett and Austin, the famous WrestleMania 97 match. If you're watching and you know to look for it, you can see it happen there. And, like Flair and Randy Savage, Starrcade 95, those two come to mind as matches where I've definitely noticed it happening. But generally, I'm not necessarily watching closely. I want to pick out every little thing. I'm just trying to get absorbed in the match,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the matches on the show that really could have used a little more time. I mean, it's great for the amount of time it goes, but I want to say it's probably only about 6 minutes. Let's see. 6:08 is the official time for it. And even with that short time, it got 3.5 stars, so it shows you it's a good match, but it could have been even better if they could have had more time. Like I say, these are probably two of the best in-ring wrestlers in World Championship Wrestling this time. I'd say these two, Bobby Eaton, Ric Flair, Brad Armstrong. I think Steve Austin's not actually in the company yet. He'd come in within a couple of months of this.
Alright.
But he would be near the top once he came in.
Are all of the corner things yellow?
They might be. I don't know. And like I say, WCW would go through different iterations of its color scheme on its rings.
Yeah. I like that, though. I like that it changed up and wasn't always one standard thing.
Well, I say that. You know what? No, they're not, because those are blue.
Damn it.
So they might have...
But maybe it's like yellow on one side and blue on the other side.
Something like
Blue
that.
is
Or
about
like opposing colors. Like the opposite corners
Yeah.
might be yellow and blue and blue.
As long as it's not like 3 of them are yellow and 1 is blue.
Yeah, it's one side is yellow and one side is blue.
Okay.
Should be all blue.
Windham with the superplex. I love the way he would do it, too, because he'd come off the top rope with the superplex and roll over right into the pin. But yeah, really short match. Really good match. But a short match. And it's, Pillman was the babyface, but, he didn't get any... he lost in War Games. He lost here to Windham. He's going to lose the Loser Leaves Town match at the Clash of Champions coming after this, so... he really didn't get much in this feud. I'm not saying it didn't get him over. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but... Here we go. Watch the well, there's the low blow, but show the superplex, because I really like the superplex. Superplex is just a suplex off the top rope. But, like I said...
What is a suplex?
But like I said, Windham would, so he comes down and then immediately rolls right over into the pin. I always thought that was really cool.
Smooth.
Yeah, I like that. Probably not the only one to do it, but he's the one I remember seeing do it the most.
Yeah.
All right, we got an interview segment coming up now. It wasn't uncommon in wrestling at this time for some of the wrestlers or managers to host interview segments. Famously, Roddy Piper would do Piper's Pit in the WWF.
Yeah.
And Brutus Beefcake would have the barber shop. This is, again, the aforementioned Diamond Dallas Page. We saw him mention the Freebirds in the opening segment. He's got the Diamond in mind. He's supposed to be interviewing, I think, Sting and Lex Luger.
Okay.
About their upcoming match with the Steiner brothers, but it's not actually a live interview segment. He just pitches to a tape segment from them, which is kind of weird. Most of these performer hosted segments, you would have the guys there live, and you'd actually have some interaction.
They look like Madonna.
Okay. They're the Diamond Dolls. That's what he would call his female companions.
This cat is heavy.
Good for him. What?
This cat is heavy.
About 10 to 11 pounds.
Actually, the one on the right really does kind of look like Madonna, even in the face.
Yeah. The one next to you is much heavier.
Yeah, but this one's sleeping on my arm.
Yeah. Completely passed out, as comfy as can be.
Very eepy.
Yeah, she's always eepy and cuddly.
I'm eepy.
Okay.
I slept for 19 hours.
But sometimes too much sleep can make you tired too.
It's true. You gotta find that balance. And it's kind of annoying.
Actually, I slept for 15 hours. I woke up after 9 hours sleep and I was still absolutely exhausted and just went back to bed for another 6 hours.
All right, so on screen right now, the guy on the left with the face paint is, of course, Sting, who just famously had his retirement match with AEW a couple of years ago. And on the right is Lex Luger, the current, this time, the United States champion, who was also my favorite wrestler at the time.
Nice.
I like the Steiner brothers, and I was starting to get into Bret Hart. I would get into him more later in the year. But yeah, we just had that quick little pre-taped interview segment, which is sort of weird, like I say, for these performer-hosted segments.
Indeed.
Actually, here's the big purpose, I guess, of this segment. Diamond Dallas Page is going to bring out his newest charge, Scott Hall and his Diamond Stud persona, which would they take a lot of elements from that. For his character Razor Ramon, when he would go to real prominence in the WWF, and he would still use a lot of the same mannerisms and affectations in his just Scott Hall character once he came back to WCW as one of the founding members of the NWO.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really beefy. He would be a lot thinner as Razor Ramon, and it's just Scott Hall. Really beefy at the time. And he had his gimmick where they'd bring a different girl out of the audience at every show to strip off his ring gear. Wait, that doesn't sound... the stuff he'd wear to the ring that he'd take off before he wrestled.
Alright.
I'm sure all the girls were plants. I mean, maybe at some of the house shows they weren't, but...
You woke up the cat.
So there's the late Scott Hall as the Diamond Stud.
Sorry, the cat's very cute. There's no cats in wrestling that I've seen. Has there ever been a cat used in wrestling? Where the cat wasn't being wrestled / getting hurt?
No, some dogs.
Or mistreated.
I don't ever remember a cat.
Damn.
We also have a third. We also have a third Diamond Doll. All of a sudden.
Okay, where did she come from?
I think she came out with Scott.
Okay.
Also, I should point out, Scott Hall also passed away a couple of years ago.
I was gonna say that was recent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Relatively, at least.
Yeah, within the last. The last several years all kind of run together, but it wasn't that long ago, all things considered. And now it's time for the stretcher match. And there's the late Sid Vicious, Sid Udy, who was just inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Alright.
A lot of controversy around that because nobody got to make a speech inducting him. His family didn't get to make. They just had a little quick, minute and a half long package for him and let his family stand up in the audience.
Why?
Ask them. He was considered a legacy inductee, which I don't even know what that means in that context.
Neither.
I mean, I get it. It means you're going to get a 90-second package and your family's going to get to stand up in the audience. But when you really break down what the hell does that mean?
Exactly.
Like, aren't most of these guys legacy inductees? They're being inducted because they're legacy and they've long since retired and you're bringing them back for this. So it means nothing.
Yeah.
In context, but... Mm-hmm. And he's going to be wrestling the aforementioned 7 feet 7 inch... Jorge Gonzalez, a.k.a. Elegante, another wrestler who has since passed away. Tall drink of water, though. The story is, I believe he was a professional basketball player, and he was in camp for the Atlanta Hawks, who were also owned by Ted Turner.
Yeah.
But had knee injury, so he wasn't going to make it in the NBA. And so Ted or somebody working for the organization brought him over to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
He would show up in the WWF a couple years later as Giant Gonzalez for a forgettable run with The Undertaker and then be pretty much out of wrestling after that. But as far as I know, legitimately 7 feet 7 inches tall. So you see, even Sid, who's about 6'9", looks short compared to him.
Okay.
Well, look at him.
Yeah, no, I see it. He's a good bit shorter, for
compared
sure.
to just about anybody else. Sid is very tall.
Foot shorter.
This was Sid's last match in the company. He was on his way to WWF and had basically already signed with them. And WCW agreed to let him go, but he had to come back for this match.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be a stretcher match, but the way it's always talked about is like he doesn't even really go out on the stretcher. He just gets up and walks away. I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't really remember what the finish was, so we'll see.
We will see.
As we watch. This got a dud. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This got -3 stars. No, wait.
What?
This got -1 star. The Oz match got -3 stars, which is ridiculous because it was nothing but a squash. He must have given it -3 just for the whole presentation. And
the presentation was fun.
But in the context of a wrestling show, it's fucking stupid.
Compared to all the other shit wrestling has done.
Just because there's other stupid shit doesn't mean that stupid shit's not stupid.
Look, it might be stupid to some degree, but...
I don't like that argument. Oh, wrestling's silly, so it's okay if they do stupid shit that makes no sense in the context of the show and takes away from the actual positives of the show. It still doesn't mean it should happen or it's worth wasting time on. But yeah, the Big Josh match got a dud. But again, only the third worst match on the show is this one got -1 star. And like I said, I don't see the -3 stars for the Oz match at all. It was fucking 30 seconds. It wasn't even a match.
Yeah.
That's a dud or a non-rating, if anything. I think, like I say, this is just the Internet Wrestling Database, so it doesn't have the full. Actually, I've got that issue though. I've got the Observer collection from '91. I'll have to go check that out. I should have done it beforehand. I'll update it on the next show.
Alright.
Unless y'all really want me to leave the room long enough to go see. Y'all would have to actually carry the conversation if I do.
I was going to say, I
tell you what. I will go look, but let's finish this match and see what the finish is. And then y'all carry the conversation for 1 minute while I go look.
Okay.
And that one's over with a claw hold. Yeah, the loser has to leave on a stretcher, supposedly.
Yeah,
and here comes the one-man gang and Kevin Sullivan doing double duty. Yet the little blonde guy with the black trunks you're going to see, he's the guy who was under the mask as the wizard accompanying Oz to the ring. That guy right there, that's Kevin Sullivan, the late Kevin Sullivan.
Okay.
He was the one in the wizard's outfit. And the other guy is George Gray, a.k.a. the one-man gang, which is an awesome name for a wrestler, let's be honest. They're coming out to start. Yeah, so Sid's just gone. The stretcher never even came into play. El Gigante just pinned him with the claw hold, and then Sid's gone.
Okay.
I think modern day stretcher matches, you beat the guy up to the point that you can lay him on the stretcher and carry him so far, like I've shown you guys in our, our wrestling game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they just completely ignored the stretcher until now. Now the one-man gang is going to take the stretcher ride.
Until something completely not part of the match.
Okay, you guys talk for just a minute. I'm going to go get my...
Now the stretcher's in.
I'm going to go get my copy of the Observer. See what he said about that match. But y'all got to promise y'all actually talk while I'm gone.
He just got hit by a stretcher.
Sorry, Kit Kat.
Oh my gosh, you pissed off the cat.
Just in my chair. I was uncomfy.
Okay, can we talk about the show, though? I'm not leaving you guys if y'all are going to talk about cats
No,
and
we're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the cat's currently sitting right in front of the match, but...
Skill issue. Is she part of the match?
Yeah, duh. I said they needed more cats.
Dawn. There's someone with a giant cat costume.
No.
And starts wrestling.
Furries wrestling.
Oh, I gotta know that thing. That furry wrestling leg.
That has to be, please.
Please tell me the other.
Yeah, I mean, all the potential wrestling things. I don't know how you would call that, but there has to be one, right? At least like a tiny little happens on Discord kind of one, right?
I hope so.
Same. Oh, is that a cage? That is a cage. Okay. And some colorful, like, there's nothing happening here. It's just a cage. Just a cage. Any updates on furries yet? Because all we've got on screen is a cage. I've got nothing to say about cage.
I don't know. I'm searching.
Say, unless it's Nick or Luke, I've got nothing to say. And if it's Luke, I hardly have anything to say. Okay, now we've got a guy. I missed his name, though. I see that he's 278 pounds.
I haven't found any IRL for wrestling.
Aksa Butch Reed. I know nothing about this man. He's got muscles, but most wrestlers do, so. To be fair, probably all wrestlers do. Definition varies. Anything yet? How have you not found anything? It should have been like the top result. Reddit should have known something.
Well, there's a lot of like art and games and stuff.
Blah.
Can't find any
Real life furry wrestling.
Real furry wrestling.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Real humans in fursuits.
Oh yeah, speaking of former football players, both of these guys were football players. Ron was actually a Heisman Trophy candidate. But I went back and checked. Meltzer gave the Oz segment -2 stars for the match, for the intro and match. Mm-hmm. I'm quoting here, and another -star for the smell. Yeah, apparently Meltzer was there live, and the smoke they used for Oz's entrance was sulfur-based, and it caused the arena to smell really bad for the rest of the show, so... This is the grudge match between the former duo of Doom, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, who were managed by the man you see on screen right now, Teddy Long, who we saw out with Johnny B. Bad earlier. The team had recently broken up, and now they're feuding, and this is one of those classic wrestling things where Teddy, the former manager, is going to be suspended in a cage above the ring.
Alright. I saw the cage, but that's all I understood.
Oh, yeah, so this is actually a cage on a cage. So it's a cage match, and the manager's going to be in a cage above the ring. Feels like you don't really need both, but I mean, a cage match is a classic grudge match.
Okay.
And you got Hacksaw Butch Reed, who I've recently found out was in the first 5-star match Dave Meltzer ever rated.
Damn.
There's
I
take it with a grain of salt. It's according to Wikipedia, and they do note that this was actually before the official beginning of the Wrestling Observer, so I'm not sure what Dave rated it in, but according to Wikipedia, at least, the Ric Flair versus Butch Reed match from April 7th, 1982 was the first 5-star rated match of Dave Meltzer's career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find any IL furry wrestling. This is too bad.
We gotta get together any furries we know.
And,
Dad can book it.
Dylan, you've met him before.
Yes, you have.
I have.
It's Ron Simmons.
And hometown.
Loved Ron Simmons back then. I mean, nothing against him now. He just doesn't wrestle now. He's retired.
Fair.
Love me some Ron Simmons.
I've not ever seen him at another show since that one.
But there's I don't know if he was I don't know if he ever had a shot in the pros,
Nowadays.
but you know, like I said, legendary college football player.
Yeah.
And actually Lex Luger, my favorite wrestler at the time who we talked about, he was a college football player and played some pro, at least in the CFL, if not a little bit in the NFL.
Yeah.
So lots of football crossover into pro wrestling.
He's a year younger than Bobby. Wait, no, a year older. Born in 1958, not 1960.
This is another one of the standout matches on the show. It probably got about a good length of time. It's about a 10-minute match.
Okay.
You know, at different points in their careers, these guys probably could have gone a little long, but it feels like it's right in that sweet spot.
Yeah. What number out of number?
This is match number 10 out of 12.
Okay.
Technically 13. There was a dark match, but that wasn't on the pay-per-view.
Obviously. We were trying to find out if there's any furry wrestling league
okay, can
things.
you talk? You're talking very...
They already knew it.
You're looking at me, and you're talking... Okay, I understand, but when I go back and edit this, nobody's going to be able to hear you compared to me.
Okay, fine. Father, we were trying to find out if there were any furry wrestling league things.
A whole organization? I doubt it.
Unfortunately, we couldn't find anything. We were okay if it was just like some small few people over Discord sort of thing. We couldn't find anything.
Or can't be entitled over Discord if it's wrestling.
Unless it's just a group video call.
How they go wrestle on a video call?
Somebody's backyard. They've got the camera going. People are watching.
Well, yeah, then the name is
it's
like
budget,
that,
damn
they
it.
couldn't do it all over a video call. Okay, I'm suplexing you. Okay, get suplexed.
Yeah, no. A few of the people, the wrestling people, would have to be together, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'd say they'd be broadcasting it over Discord.
Mm-hmm.
That's how people would tune in. I mean, theoretically, they could if they can do that, they can probably go on Twitch or something too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, these two had been one of the top tag teams in the group under the name of Doom for the last several years, and they just did the angle to break up. This would be the beginning of Ron's big singles run that would eventually end up with him becoming the officially the first black world heavyweight champion, definitely the first black WCW world champion. And the first, I mean, and that title did sort of carry the lineage of the NWA title, even though at this point at the point that he won the championship, they had splintered off.
Yeah.
But, you know, there were other black wrestlers who had held some version of a recognized world title, guys like Bearcat Wright and Ernie Ladd. But still a big deal.
Yeah.
Certainly on a national scale, the first black world champion. But Ron would have a really good couple-year singles run. I liked him as a challenger for Luger. They had a really good 2 out of 3 falls match at Halloween Havoc later this year. And I liked his run as world champion. I think the biggest problem with his run as world champion is they just didn't have anybody for him to wrestle, really.
Yeah.
They didn't, not to say there weren't good wrestlers in the company, but just sometimes the matchups aren't there, you know?
Yeah.
And they just didn't really have any good contenders. You see that a lot, especially with babyface champions. Sometimes it can be really hard to find the right challengers. Sting didn't really have great challengers when he won the belt in 1990. You've seen Cody recently in the WWE. I don't think they've always had the best challengers ready to go for him.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be hard, and that can, you know, that plays a big part in whether you have a good title reigner. You can be a really good performer, really good personality, but if you don't have the challengers, the title reign's not necessarily going to hold up as much. Double axe handle off the middle rope. That was still a big move at the time, the double axe handle off the ropes.
What happened?
What
happened? I'm sorry, I didn't say it loud enough.
Well, I heard what you said. I was trying to answer.
I was trying to say it for the microphone. I realized I mumbled it in the opposite direction.
You mumble everything.
Facts.
Double axe handle is when the wrestler has his hands clasped together like this, and like Dylan said, just bonk the guy in the head. But Randy Savage, of course, would do it off the top rope, and Butch Reed just did it off the middle rope. But in '91, coming off the top rope with that was still a pretty high-impact move.
No, it's just meh.
It doesn't compare to what guys do nowadays, even as what guys would be starting to do around this time. But at this point, that was still a pretty big high spot, especially in U.S. wrestling. I'm not, in Japan and especially in Mexico where dives would get really crazy. I'm sure they were doing more high-risk stuff. I'm talking to Alex and she just left the room. So
yeah, I have no idea where she went.
I thought I was having a conversation with Lexi on LexiCon, but
nah.
Lexi gone now.
She left.
Welcome to LexiCon. It's Maddie along with...
She gone.
I could hear you. I just needed another water. Needed hydration.
You always need so much water. God.
Dude, did you see that Brita TikTok I sent you? Please tell me you watched it.
I died in the last TikTok you sent me.
Okay, just go... after the show, just go doom scroll on Brita's TikTok page.
Who?
Brita. Water filters. Whatever the...
You notice Ron and Butch both have electrical tape.
Yeah.
Wrapped around their wrists, and Ron's got on his biceps. You'd see guys with athletic tape. These are the only guys I remember wearing electrical tape.
But
it
why?
looks fucking cool. Because it looks cool.
It seems like it'd be really annoying to it, honestly.
To be fair, Ron's probably got on his biceps to show off his muscles. The stuff on your wrist does... taping your wrist does legitimately add stability to your wrist.
Yeah. But does taping your wrist with electrical tape?
I'm sure it would. Yeah, why not? It's still going to help add support. It may not be the best choice.
Yeah.
And it may not be great for the skin. And I mean, to a degree, taping your wrists, fingers, ankles, etc. in wrestling there's an aesthetic aspect to it too.
Yeah.
For sure. But that is, I mean, athletically taping your joints up, that is a legitimate way to help,
I was going to say, maybe not.
Injury.
Maybe not what's on his bicep, but like with the vest, theoretically, could they have like athletic tape or something down and then the electrical tape?
I would imagine. Why not? But then again, you might not want to do too much. There's probably a limit to how much you want to put on.
But I mean, you could always just be cautious with how tight or whatever. But just for like safety and then aesthetics or whatever.
In pro wrestling too, the tape would also serve the purpose. A lot of guys hide their blade in their tape. Yeah. I think
I guess convenient place to hide a blade.
Yeah, just put there another little extra piece of tape over it.
Yeah. I say lots and lots of tape.
Speaking of aesthetics, I'm disappointed that Butch Reed went back to the short trunks here. He and Ron both wore long tights as members of Doom, and Ron still has the long tights, but Butch has got the trunks on. I've never been as big a fan of trunks as I am. I like the long tights.
Maybe he
depends
was
on the wrestler, depends
trunks.
on the actual look. I'm not hating on him, but from the time I got into wrestling, I thought long tights were cooler. I like the singlet too, but the ones with the legs, like Mr. Perfect would wear, not like the trunk hybrid that Nikita wore.
Yeah.
But I was a long tights guy.
Long is probably better in my opinion, but I don't think I really mind anything.
Like I say, throughout the years, I've become more appreciative of all the different looks in pro wrestling.
Yeah,
and trunks are definitely a traditional look, and I appreciate that. And like I say, different wrestlers can pull off different looks, so it all depends. But
yeah, I was gonna say maybe I'd like singlets the least, but ultimately I don't think I feel super strongly about any of them.
I like the Steiners wore the singlet. Like I say, Mr. Perfect wore the singlet back in this time. I thought the singlets were probably the coolest. I liked Rob Van Dam's singlets in the late 90s, too. He had the airbrushing, and he'd have, like, the compression-tight shorts underneath it, so it looked like they were a little bit longer than they actually were.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite wrestling looks aesthetically. And, of course, with, Sean's look when he first went solo about a year after this, and he had the pleather vest and the trunks with the zebra stripes and then the broken hearts.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite looks. And, of course, Bret Hart with the pink and black was always one of the classic looks.
You cannot go wrong with pink and black.
I mean, you probably can if you do it wrong, but Brett didn't
It's
do it wrong.
really hard considering black kind of goes with everything. So any shade of pink, as long as you balance the two. But even then, to be fair, if you just use pink as an accent to black, or black as an accent to pink, definitely a good color combination.
You know, they're having a cage match, which is technically no disqualification. Obviously, they've gotten away with beating each other in the cage and whatnot. But the ref just stopped the count because Ron got his foot on the rope, which is technically correct in a regular match. If any part of you was
But not in
underneath the
this
rope
one.
or in the rope. Well, nowadays, I think they would definitely say, well, it's no DQ, you can still make that count. But it's just interesting to see back then, no DQ wasn't as all-encompassing as it is now. But nowadays, it gets to a ridiculous level. Like, you know, they do shit. They just, even in a quote unquote no DQ or hardcore anything goes match, some things you would accept wouldn't really go. Like a guy wouldn't really walk out and pull a fucking gun out and shoot you in the knee.
I was about to say pulls the gun out. Is no DQ.
But there are things that people do that are equivalent to that, to the point of like that really should not be allowed in an athletic contest, even one with loosened rules.
Yeah, but then I was going to say, could you imagine a wrestling match and they both, or whoever's in the match, pull out Nerf guns?
It's probably happened in some silly match.
Very possibly.
I'm quite
I've
sure
never
it
witnessed it.
has.
Well, I was quite sure that there'd be some wrestling furries, but apparently there isn't.
I bet there is a wrestling furry here or there.
Probably, but I need like a significant amount.
Wait, let's define furry too, because Tiger Mask had like a furry mask.
Somebody in a fursuit.
Yeah, full fursuit.
Yeah, that was my requirement. It doesn't technically have to be furry. It can be one of those other furry-like
Ron
suits.
with the big spine
Furry
buster.
adjacent.
Spinebuster move invented by Arn Anderson, and Arn Anderson is a great one. But I loved
Commemorating
Ron's
things?
Spinebuster as well.
No, because that's like the parcel, isn't it?
Okay, so you need more fur than that.
Yeah, no, it's got to be the full suit.
Okay, well that's still furry, isn't it?
How come when I
Like
search?
furry scalies?
Yeah.
Wait. How come when I search a furry, the first suggestion that comes up is a furry little Christmas? What is
I
that?
don't know. I'm not sure I want to know. But yeah, like people who do are dressed as animals that aren't furry.
Yeah, furry little Christmas, some Christmas movie with the dog, it seems.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
not
I
about
search up a
police.
furry wrestler, and I get a whole TikTok thing about it.
Okay. I know. I guess I'm
And
doing
then
wrong.
actual IO furry wrestler.
Ah!
Audio.
Ah.
That looks like some AI shit.
Probably.
I'm not gonna lie,
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's definitely different posts here. This is some WWE. What is that? Is that Jake Paul?
I have no idea.
What? I fucking hate Jake Paul.
Yeah.
That's how far into that's some AI shit too.
Very possibly.
I don't
Or
know.
editing.
I was just curious
But we'll continue to research this.
if I could come up with anything fairly quickly.
Okay, in an ideal world, who would be the commentator for furry wrestling?
YouTube Furry Wrestling FPWW.
If one of the actual established, like WWE, etc., commentators were part of furry wrestling, who would do it? Or who would be best for the job, at
Ask
least?
me.
Father, I need this information.
I don't know, Lexi. It's not something I've ever. This is another one of
I
those
bet we
questions.
could get Jim
This is another
Cornette
one of
on
those
it.
questions you. I don't think Jim Cornette. Oh my God! Speaking of though, do you remember when we? Well, you and I didn't meet Ron because we stayed at the table like
Facts.
dumbasses. But when we were at the con with Ron, and
Yeah.
then one of the showrunners was the next day was telling us the story about how he introduced Ron to the concept of furries.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Oh wait! I'm sorry to interrupt. Y'all gotta hear it. I'm gonna risk a content idea again. because
Okay.
I really like this music. This is the video hyping up the
It's
match.
so 80s.
The match for the World Tag Team titles between the Steiner brothers, who were the champions, and their babyface counterparts, Lex Luger and Sting. So
I
it was
like
kind of
the star.
it was a big deal to have these four babyfaces wrestling because you don't get babyface matches all that often. Again, it's two of the top single guys teaming up to try to win
What's
the tag
with all
team
the
titles from the
flags?
top tag team. What, Lexi?
What was with all the flags?
That was from Starrcade 90. They had like an international tag team tournament
Okay.
that the Steiners won. And then
Okay.
you see Luger wearing the United States belt. That United States belt, which they had just changed over, that's one of my all-time favorite belts, too. A really good design. The big medallion on the front that's not round or square. It's sort of in between. Those are the IWGP tag team titles that the Steiners are holding there. The Japanese tag team championships from New Japan Pro Wrestling. But the World Tag Team titles that the Steiners hold are the ones I mentioned earlier. You saw Like, you saw them at the beginning of this video, the ones on the blue straps that I was telling y'all about.
Yeah.
There they are, with the Steiners that just won, to cause them to relinquish the
Pink one.
United States Tag Team titles.
I like the colorful singlets with the patterns on them.
And now we went from that dramatic bit to now the really intense part.
Still very 80s.
No, I love that music, though. I thought it was great to hype this match. And there's this time, I think that's when they won. Yeah, that's when they won the titles from the Freebirds, Sting against various wrestlers. It's, kind of a boilerplate package. We're just seeing there was the tilt-a-whirl suplex from Scott. The bulldog off Scott's shoulders. That's the match with Spivey from Wrestle War.
And then to this music.
And then we settle back down. We have the slow build and the big intense part. Then sort of settle back down in. So I thought that was a really good package, especially for something that was not narrated at all, had no words. I always really liked that video package.
Definitely. Looked pretty neat.
This was the match of the year in wrestling in 1992, at least in the United States. I know it was match of the year in both the Wrestling Observer and Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Damn.
Not the match of the year for me. My favorite match in 91 was Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title. There's the Galoob wrestling figures. Love those figures. They look so good. They weren't posable at all. They had no articulation. They were basically in-action figures, statues. But they looked so good.
I mean, to be fair, I like those little metal figs, but still.
First off, I was a WCW fan, much more so than the WWF, so I loved having WCW figures. And they looked really good. They were very good representations of the wrestlers. There's the new United States Championship that they had just come out with, which is actually a really good-looking belt, too, and was my favorite belt at the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's not. I don't even know if it'd make my top 5, but it is a good-looking belt.
They came out wearing the colors of the ring.
Not as good as the previous United States Championship belt, but a good-looking belt.
Yeah.
And like I said, one that had just debuted. And like when my friend and I would have we'd have sleepovers and we'd have our wrestling matches, I was always the U.S. champion because Luger was my favorite wrestler. And he was the world champion because Sting had been world champion and Sting was his favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
And there's Braun Breaker's uncle and father. Uncle Scott on the left, his father Rick on the right. Rick wearing his belt backwards as he was wont to do. They're also wearing their varsity jackets from the University of Michigan.
Okay.
That picture of the Steiners right there, that's on a bandana, but I had that t-shirt. I had that same image on a t-shirt.
That's really cool.
Yeah, one thing I'm sure has probably been cut out of this, there was I believe, now it could have been on the pre-show, because back then you'd have these 30-minute pre-shows that were just hyping up all the different angles and trying to sell you on the pay-per-view, which was really weird, because you could only get it, at least on my cable system, if you'd ordered the pay-per-view already. So I'm not really sure what the point of it was, but...
This is helping you justify how much you paid.
I would usually record them. I'd like to have them on my tape, because I just thought it was a neat snapshot of what was going on at the time. They were just like these magazine segments. So it could have been during that, but I think it was actually sometime during the show they started hyping the upcoming Great American Bash tour. There's the World Tag Team titles that I liked on the blue belt. Another one of my top 5 belts. But they were hyping the upcoming Great American Bash tour, which was the summer-long tour that they would have that would be in support of the Great American Bash pay-per-view that would happen in July.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, they were coming to Myrtle Beach, which was just, a couple hours from me. And that was like the first live wrestling show I saw once I had become a wrestling fan. I think when I was a kid, I'd gone to a couple of local shows with my parents, but I had no real memory of that.
Yeah.
So that was a big... I was staying at my grandparents' house for a few days, and I was watching my cassette of this, and I saw that segment, and I noticed, oh my God, they're going to Myrtle Beach. So I got to go see that show. That was the first live wrestling show I went to. And
love that.
It was okay. It was where I first learned about how you can't bring umbrellas into outdoor stadiums. Also, we saw that even though the rock and roll... Because they don't want people hitting people with them, and they don't want them blocking the view of other spectators. It was also where even though the Rock and Roll Express were feuding, my dad would see them getting into a limo together, which, I mean, I get it. We all knew it was, kayfabe. We know it was a work, but it was just funny to see.
Yeah.
And Sting and Nikita Koloff were in the main event, and the match lasted about 30 seconds, which was the only real disappointment about it.
Fair.
Nikita came out and he set up a table. Sting came out and Nikita attacked him. Sting whipped him into the table. They brawled through the crowd, and it was over. And the really crazy thing is, I've gone back and looked. There's a website called thehistoryofwwe.com, which tries to catalog all the results of not only WWE, but also WCW and ECW. And that house show tour, the results are listed. There was another iteration of the Great American Bash Tour in Charlotte, which was probably just as close to where I lived at the time.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a better card on paper. Like, for one thing, Lex Luger wrestled on it, who was my favorite wrestler at the time and who I would have loved to have seen live. And I'm like, why didn't I just go to that one, I think possibly because, I was younger and I didn't necessarily have as a good idea about distance. Like, I knew Charlotte was in another state.
Yeah.
And Myrtle Beach was in the same state, so even though they might be equidistant to where I lived, it didn't necessarily occur to me that, hey, Charlotte's just as close and just as easy to go to. Plus,
Fair.
We used to go to Myrtle Beach, or at least a nearby beach, on a fairly regular basis, so that seemed more attainable to me maybe than going all the way up to Charlotte.
Damn.
But in hindsight, I'm like, man, I should have gone to Charlotte. It looks like it was a better show. I mean, who knows how good the matches were. The history of WWE doesn't rate the matches or any such thing, but just on paper, it looks like it would have been a better show. Yeah, this is a good, solid match, a good, hard-hitting match, and again, kind of matchup you weren't going to see because these guys were all 4 baby faces. They didn't put them in the ring very often. So it was a really good match. It has kind of a disappointing ending because it ends in it's not technically a DQ, but Nikita Koloff does interfere and lead to the finish, so it's not a clean finish. But it's a good, solid match. I feel like if it had gone maybe like 5 minutes longer, I would have liked the match even more. Mm-hmm. I still don't think it would have surpassed Brett and Kurt Hennig as my favorite match of 91, because that's probably like one of my top 5 matches of all time. Brett and Hennig at SummerSlam 91. Mm-hmm. It was a really good match, though. And again, it's like the Steiners were my favorite tag team. Luger was my favorite wrestler. I liked Sting, but it's like Luger and Sting didn't need to win the belts. But it's hard, too, because like I didn't hate either side, so I wasn't really rooting hard for one. I mean, I was pulling for the Steiners because they were my team, even though Luger was my favorite wrestler.
Fair.
But it's like, Luger and Sting don't need the tag team titles. They're singles wrestlers,
Yeah.
So it is nicer to have a match where either you're completely fine no matter who wins, or you really definitively would prefer one or the other to win.
Yeah.
And in this case, I would have been fine if Sting and Luger won, but also, like I say, at the same time, I don't really need them to beat the Steiners at this time,
They don't need those belts.
Yeah, you want to see them do the singles stuff, and you want to see the Steiners be the top tag team.
Yeah.
You pointed out Luger and Sting with look at Sting with the big plancha.
I thought of the glitter or something else.
Actually, technically that was a springboard, so I think that was a pescata.
Okay.
But it was a springboard flying body press to the outside. But you pointed out Luger and Sting have the blue and yellow on. What do you think about the Steiners' outfits?
Yeah, they're fine. I don't like them as much as I like the other ones we saw before this, but they're still fine.
For one thing, the Steiners wore the singlets, which, like I said, I really like the singlets. I like the long trunks, like the long tights, like Sting, but I like the singlets too.
Yeah, I like just the colors.
They also
and
had
the
wild
patterns.
a very loud colors. Scott's just wearing flat out all neon pink.
Very 80s.
You can see Rick has the mismatch. He has 2 different color boots on, too. That was part of his character. He was sort of the goofy character.
Interesting.
And he also wears the amateur wrestling headgear.
Yeah.
That was part of his look. Again, that's Braun's dad, Rick Steiner.
Nice.
And that's Rick's legitimate brother, Scott. Their real last name is Rex Steiner. It's Rob Rex Steiner and Scott Rex Steiner. And Braun is Bronson Rex Steiner.
Okay. Oh,
Scott was so good back then. And like Scott's a jack dude, but he's not a giant by any means. He's not that tall, and he would get even bigger. There's the tilt-a-whirl suplex, but even a guy his size doing moves like the Frankensteiner and some of the stuff he did was really, really impressive. I mean, Rick was really good in the ring too.
Yeah.
The Steiners in like 90, 91, even into 92, they were great. They were easily my favorite tag team. I'm not even sure I can go back and say they're my all-time favorite tag team, but for that era, there was nothing better.
Alright. Got hot pink and blue in the ring now.
Yeah, I'd rather go with a lighter blue with my pink, personally.
So I like
Not as crazy about the dark blue with the hot pink.
Yeah, I personally, if I'm going to combine the two, I like a dark blue and then a very pastel kind of pink.
Sting had very unique wrestling boots. It's hard to tell just at a glance. You'd have to really take the time looking at them.
Yeah.
But we point out the cowboy-style wrestling boots. And then most of the guys have the boots like the Steiners. Luger's are a little bit taller, but they're still more traditional wrestling boots. But Sting's boots had a really unique shape to them. Shawn Michaels had a fairly unique shape to his boots once he went solo too, but they were again a little bit different. Sting is like the only one I ever really saw wear that style of boots.
Okay.
And I can't necessarily define it, you just have to look at it and see it. They just had a little bit of a unique shape to them. You can see they're a little bit different than the other guys' boots.
Alright.
Scott almost went on to the announcers. Yeah, back then the announcers were there just on a folding table with the TV monitors right there beside the ring. Nothing real fancy.
Is it particularly fancy nowadays?
Yeah, have you seen it? Well, for one thing, they're set back from the ring. Well, we're speaking of WWE specifically, and there have been times where they've been set up like at the top of the ramp and whatnot. But they have that whole big elaborate constructed table with all the fancy monitors built in.
Alright.
It's much more elaborate than it was back in 1991.
Good to know.
Big power slam by Luger. And he's signaling he's going to put him up in the torture rack. That was his finishing move. It's the Argentinian backbreaker. But love that move. No, but Scott with the reversal hits the Russian. The Russian leg sweep's a move you don't see much in wrestling anymore. Somebody needs to bring it back. Side Russian leg sweep. Like Brad Armstrong uses a finisher, and he would hit the move and kind of float over into a pin, kind of like Windham did with Superplex. I'm not saying somebody needs to use as a finisher, because it wouldn't look like a finisher nowadays, especially. But it's a good mid-match move. So they need to bring that back. I had that Sting shirt too. The one
Nice.
those girls are wearing.
Very nice.
Yeah, I kind of went overboard. I got the Steiners t-shirt, the Sting t-shirt. I got like a Sting bandana and a Lex Luger hat. It was like a bright yellow that I didn't wear that much.
I'm not sure I've ever seen you wear bright yellow.
I needed to have some kind of Luger merch because he was my guy. Damn, that was a big drop kick by Sting off the top. I always like that when a guy will come like out of nowhere, like the camera doesn't pick it up. Not necessarily because it's a mistake, but intentionally you don't see it until they actually come into the frame with the move.
Yeah.
That holds a lot of impact. That's a good way to shoot it sometimes. I guess Luger and Rick are the legal men at this point.
I don't know.
I guess that was intentional. The way Rick kind of got caught up on the ropes, then he and Luger.
I would hope.
It almost looked like it was a mistake.
I would hope it was intentional.
Well, it could have been that they were going to go for a double clothesline or something, and Rick did legitimately get caught up, and so they just bumped into each other and went down. Still got to the same place, just in a different manner.
Yep. I have no idea what exactly is going on. They're getting up, and they're waiting. And there's a lot of colors going on.
They both made the tag out to their partner.
Nice.
I around this time, I got my hair cut like Sting, that flat top.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if it was... probably after this, but maybe not much. Maybe my haircut for the new school year.
Yeah.
In like September of
Fair.
that year. I remember getting my haircut like Sting.
Very fair.
He wasn't even my favorite wrestler.
He's like this
but
guy.
I couldn't have the long hair like I say, so.
Yeah. So of your options, you like his?
I did not, however, paint my face. I don't think I could have gotten away with that at school.
Probably not.
The Tombstone piledriver spot where Scott had Sting up for the Tombstone and then Sting reversed it. That's the signature Sting spot.
Nice.
And then the ref goes down. Damn, they just drug him out,
Oof,
too.
They did. What the?
You need some hazard pay for this match.
Absolutely.
Stinger Splash. That's Sting's setup move for his finishing move, the Scorpion Deathlock. It's another move you don't see very much, but it was impactful when Sting did it. Now here comes Nikita. Again, remember, he's come back for revenge on Luger, supposedly. He's got the Russian chain. He's going to hit Luger. Sting pushed him out of the way, and Koloff hit Sting, so that would set up Nikita, Koloff, and Sting to feud throughout the summer. And also give, Sting and Luger the out here because the ref was out. So the Steiners are going to get the pin. We don't have a DQ finish, but it's not really a clean finish either, like I was saying.
Fair.
So it doesn't really hurt Sting and Luger, but it keeps the belts where they need to be, and it gives the fans... It gives you at least a definitive finish, even if it's not clean. But again, that match was pretty much unanimous, the match of the year in the United States. Like I said, I'll take Brett and Hennig at SummerSlam over it, but it was a good match. Yeah, they have the that shirt they were showing again, the one that I had. They have the United States Tag Team titles in that one.
I love that one.
Yeah, Sting's busted open, which again I assume is a blade job. I doubt it was hard way.
Yeah.
But I was not paying enough attention to see. I was
Any
like,
signs of it?
this little bit of selling here where Sting's kind of dazed and he's like pushing the guys off.
Love it as well.
It's just a good little bit of work. And now he's going after Nikita.
This is why.
But see, it's also set up really well, too, because it's like, okay, we've got Tony in the back interviewing Nikita. It's not like just something random going on. Which, I mean, to be fair, the camera could have followed Sting, too, here. So it's not one of those that would have really defied logic. But, it's it's a nice little setup to the brawl here to kick off their feud. Like I said, just don't catch them at a house show, because I always like stuff like this at the time, too. They're brawling out in the concourse of the arena here.
Yeah.
Like, that was unique at the time. You didn't see this a lot.
Absolutely.
So when it happened, it had impact.
That's fair.
God, I didn't even remember they went out of the building during this brawl. Maybe because my tape was black and white and I could barely see. Because it's hard enough to see in color right now.
That's true. There's not a whole lot of contrast there. I think he's got some sort of plan.
He had like a chair.
Oh, a chair?
Yeah, Nikita had it at first.
Okay. Hopefully. I don't remember what I was about to say.
Okay.
I said hopefully and then just completely forgot everything.
Howard Stern look-alike in the crowd. Dusty with a lot of jewelry on, too.
Okay. Did he particularly like all his jewelry? I'm going to assume he did.
Do what?
What?
I don't know. You said it.
I was talking about all that going on.
But what did you say?
I don't remember at this
You
point.
said something about his jewelry, and then you
Yeah, I
said
was
what?
like-
Like you didn't understand.
I was
I was saying
did he-
something to you.
Did he like all that jewelry? Did he like having it all? Or whatever. I'm going to assume he did.
I don't think anybody forced him to do it.
I don't, because it could be a stylistic thing. He's like, I don't really like it, but like it looks good, and I kind of did it, and I'm gonna keep doing it. If that makes sense.
Beautiful Bobby Eaton, one of the all-time
Colorful.
greatest in-ring performers, just passed away a couple of years ago.
Damn.
Longtime tag team wrestler, one half of the Midnight Express, first with Dennis Condrey and then with Stan Lane, with manager Jim Cornette, of course. Cornette and Lane had left WCW at the end of 1990, but Bobby stayed, and now he's having a little bit of a singles run here.
Alright.
He's going to win the television championship here from the Enforcer, Arn Anderson, another one of the all-time great in-ring workers. Again, the inventor of the Spine Buster. Founding member of the Four Horsemen. Actually gave the Four Horsemen their name.
Yeah.
In an interview saying they were going to, wreak havoc, or nobody's wreaked havoc like this since the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and thus the Four Horsemen were born. Or the Horseman name was born. Multi-time television champion was Arn Anderson. This was, I guess, his second reign with the belt. And funnily enough, I believe he won the every time he won the championship, he won it in January.
Okay.
I don't have the, I could look it up. I got my computer right here, but the TV championship when I first started wrestling was one of those championships that, like, you didn't even know it was there sometimes until they felt like featuring it. And they were like, oh yeah, there's a television champion. Originally, the idea was, this was the champion who wrestled on, this was the belt that was defended on television regularly. And it would always have like either a 10-minute or a 15-minute time limit. And one of the gimmicks they would do is the match would go as long as it took, but the belt was only on the line for the first 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. I wanted to say, so I was pointing out, even the show doesn't have as many signs as we've seen seen in other shows.
There were some out
Definitely here. Some, just not as many.
But this is when the signs would start to sort of become more and more common. This is sort of the early days of the signs.
Yeah.
And they would build up to their peak in the Attitude Era and then drop off
die.
Again. Yeah.
And like nowadays, at least some venues won't even allow signs like that.
But there were definitely signs in the crowd in this era for sure.
Yeah. I don't remember which one it was. Some venue I've been to for other non-wrestling events. The venue itself has a policy where, like, your sign can't be bigger than a piece of computer paper.
This is another one of the really good in-ring matches on the show. Again, probably could have gone another 5 minutes and been just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
Got 3.25 stars from Dave Meltzer. The only singles championship Bobby Eaton would hold in WCW. And he didn't even hold it for that long. Steve Austin would come in and win the belt within about a month from this.
Alright.
But I was pulling for Bobby. I was happy to see him get the win.
I like the colorful blue pants and everything, like the little patches / shapes and whatever.
Yeah, that was a signature Bobby Eaton look.
Nice. It's just colorful and fun.
He was, I think at this point he was being announced from Huntsville, Alabama, which is at least close enough to his real hometown. But for a while,
his real hometown?
Well, he's from Alabama. I don't know if it's specifically Huntsville or if maybe it's a small town nearby or whatnot.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm sure he was living in Carolina. But
I said it's like how Taylor Swift's hometown is Nashville, but she actually lived in a small town outside of Nashville.
Yeah, but my whole point was for a long time, he and maybe Midnight Express themselves, but at least he was announced from the dark side.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Like I said, I assume that went back to the Midnight Express. I haven't gone back and watched enough of the tapes to pick up on that, but I remember when I first started watching wrestling, when Bobby had first gone solo, that's where he was announced from, was the dark side.
Alright.
Another high flyer, risk taker for the time, did a knee drop off the top rope, and his finishing move was the Alabama Jam, which was a flying leg drop, which again was a big, high-impact move for the time. Might seem tame by today's standards. It was a big deal back then.
For the time, you'd think at least a significant bit of high-impact moves would remain high-impact moves. In, like, the same sort of way.
Nah.
No, not at all. Very tame by today's standards, apparently.
It, in and of itself, is still every bit as high impact as it would have been in the day, but I'm just saying they do so much more than that now.
Yeah.
So by comparison, it doesn't seem as high impact or high risk.
Yeah.
As it truly is.
Here
we go. They're gonna do a slam out on the ramp. See, I really like when they incorporated the ramp.
Definitely out.
It's one of the reasons I really like them having the ramp, because they would, they do fun spots on it.
Yeah.
That mountain goes straight to the ring.
Yeah, it goes, straight from the entrance platform all the way down. That's what I was saying. I really liked that ramp. Like I say, some people like Jim Cornette hated it because he had to work ringside and you couldn't go all the way around because you'd run into the ramp. But I thought from a presentation standpoint and from the fact they could do cool spots on it during the match, I always really liked the ramp.
Yeah, I think it seemed neat.
I mean, they would only use it for, like, the pay-per-views and the clashes. Like, the regular TV shows didn't have the ramp.
Interesting.
But that was signature WCW. WWF didn't have anything like that, so I always really liked them. Like I said, when I first started watching wrestling, I liked both companies fine, but I was much more of a WCW fan than I was a WWF fan. Actually, for a while, I really liked Global Championship Wrestling that aired out of Dallas and aired on ESPN in the afternoons. Mm-hmm. For a while, I probably liked WCW the best, then GCW, then WWF.
Very nice.
And then over the years, I would probably, I would go back and forth between which one was my favorite, just depending on who was wrestling where at the time and what they were presenting.
That makes sense.
And I've never been so territorial that, I only like this type of wrestling. I can't like the other company. I've always appreciated all wrestling, so.
Fair. I was going to say, you just kind of, to some degree, like all wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like what I like. Just because it's wrestling doesn't mean I'm going to like it. But I like what I like.
But you're not going to be the kind of person who's like, no, I don't like that because of
right,
it's
I'm not so tribal because I'm not going to like it because it comes from a certain company.
Yeah.
I mean, if that were the case, I wouldn't watch any WWE because of some of their... I don't like what TKO does. I don't like the way they're pricing people out of the market. I don't like the way they hardly do any content. It's mostly just commercials. I don't like their association with the current regime in the United States. There's many reasons not to like the company, but I still enjoy the product to a degree.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And there's never... I don't think there's ever been... Even times when I didn't like a company for some reason... I don't think I ever just completely stopped watching. Well, like I stopped watching Raw for a while after the Katie Vick angle, but I didn't stop watching WWF altogether, or WWE as it was at the time.
Yeah. That looks painful. What move is that?
I don't know that it actually has a name. It's some sort of a leg grapevine, maybe they would describe it as.
Alright.
It's it's not far off from different leg locks or death locks, but it may not have an actual name.
Understandable. And like I said, it looks
and
painful.
It probably doesn't hurt at all either. It's probably easy as can be, but just based on the weird positioning and Bobby selling it, looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
It's probably not. I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't really cinch up on it or wrench down on it and make it hurt, but I'm sure the way they're doing it's probably not that painful.
Okay.
I mean, that's, part of the illusion of wrestling.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it might be uncomfortable. Or maybe a little bit painful. A little bit. But then it's like, maybe they know how to do it.
We point out that one big blonde guy in the audience. Right beside him, there's a guy sitting with him that looks like Paul Roma, who was a professional wrestler at the time, and ironically enough, would be Anderson's tag team partner in one of the iterations of the Four Horsemen just a couple years from now.
Alright.
I don't think it's really Paul Roma in the audience, since he was wrestling for WWF at the time.
Yeah. Side of the knee there. I missed the rest of that sentence.
Probably something like just working over the inside of the knee.
I would imagine.
Technically, I guess Arn and Bobby are in the yellow and blue colors too. Sort of like Sting and Luger.
Kind of, yeah.
Just reverse, because now Arn has the yellow trunks and Bobby has the blue tights, whereas Sting had the yellow tights and Luger had the blue trunks.
Yeah. Is that blood in the ring?
It is. Well, we've seen Windham bleed, Pillman bleed, Sting bleed.
We've seen a lot of people bleed.
Yeah, and they didn't change. Nowadays, I think WWF changed the canvas between every match.
Boo.
But they didn't. This was the same canvas they were going to be using all night. They didn't change it.
And so, like, I understand why they would change it. But...
Well, I mean, when you have pretty much unlimited resources like they do, it's a lot easier, too.
Yeah, and I mean, just in general, it can probably be fairly gross to have all kinds of dirt, sweat, blood, etc. all over such a thing, and then you've got these guys sweating and wrestling, getting scraped up, getting cut, etc.
Oh yeah,
rolling around and all
like
that.
staph infections from dirty mats were very common in wrestling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not coming down on them for doing it. I'm just saying, back in 1991, even WWF wasn't changing the mat between matches.
Yeah. It's totally... It makes sense why they would. It makes sense why they would.
That working a certain body part, that's classic Anderson wrestling style. Even though Arn's, like I say, his finishers were the spine buster and the DDT, which are more impact moves on the back and the neck. It's not like his wrestling cousin Ric Flair, who used the figure four, but like I say, the original Minnesota Wrecking Crew was Gene and Ole Anderson, and there was a Lars Anderson at some point too, and then Arn would come in to replace Gene as Ole's tag team partner, and they would be two of the original Four Horsemen. But that sort of Anderson tag team wrestling style, where they'd work a body part and work a body part, so that Anderson going out the knees, pretty classic Anderson wrestling there. You hot?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I even turned even lower than it was.
Yeah, it was a hot day today. You said it was damn near 90 degrees.
It was. It was 88 degrees. With the feel, like, at the time I haven't been checking, being 91.
Yeah, and that was like late afternoon, early evening. I bet 3 o'clock it was probably even hotter.
Probably. And I did not approve of it. I did not enjoy it. I did not like it at all.
No, it's one of those times where it's so hot outside, even though you'll have your air conditioner set where you normally would, it's still not... Even though, well, it says it's 74 degrees in here, but man, it feels hotter.
Yeah, and like, I can be sitting in my room, air going, fan going, ice cream in hand, it's still hot.
It's just like in wintertime, yeah, it said 74, I'm like, I'm cold.
That is true.
It's really weird how, even though the internal temperature is exactly the same, just depending on the atmospheric conditions at the time, it feels different.
At the very least, I'm going to say some degree of relativity. Maybe there's more to it that does actually adjust that. But
well, there's also, too, the thermostat is probably reading the air right around it.
Yeah.
So the rest of the house may be slightly off from that.
Yeah. And at the same time, not every single house is necessarily blocking out whatever.
So
like completely
so in
blocking
winter,
out
when
whatever.
it's cold, it's going to be colder in the other rooms, even though it's a certain temperature right at the thermostat.
Yeah. It's crazy how hot my room has been getting lately.
I remember one time I made that mistake. I was trying to warm up the house, so I left the heater running in the hallway, but that was right in front of the thermostat. So the thermostat was reading it was super hot in here, so I had to like turn that off and let it get really chilly in here before I could actually get the heat to kick back on.
Sat there just holding an ice pack to the thermostat. Like, nope, that's wrong. Cool down, please. Hey, I am, but I'm not looking forward to summertime. Like, I look forward to simply the year doing things, but I'm not looking forward to the weather.
It's hot in the Southeast during the summer.
I hate
Anderson
summer.
with Spine Buster. From what I know, he invented that move.
Oh, cool.
And one of the best to do it, too.
Nice. Like I was gonna say, the weather's not as bad if you've got some water to soak in. Mm-hmm. I don't have water to soak in, so I shall be melting despite being inside in front of a fan. And I hate it.
What do we think of the cell job? He came off the double axe handle. Bobby punched him in the stomach, and Arn cut a full flip after he landed.
Damn.
You watched it, did you not?
I did, but I didn't, you know? Like, my eyes were looking in that direction.
One of the things when you think about it seems over the top, but Anderson's pretty smooth to the point, like, you kind of buy it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's Barry Windham, Arn's horseman teammate, but Pillman cut him off. Bobby hits the beautiful flying leg drop, a.k.a. the Alabama Jam. Oh, man. They cut to Pillman chasing Windham and missed the end of the 3 count. That was not great camera work.
No, definitely not.
But no matter what, we got a new television champion. Disappointed the run was really short, too, though. Like I say, Steve Austin came in around this time, and he beat Bobby for the belt within, like, a month of this. And they had, like, I guess a house show feud, and they would have an interesting, let's say, match at the next pay-per-view that we'll talk about when we actually get around to watching it. But, yeah, that was pretty much it for Bobby's single run. By the fall, he's teamed up with Anderson and Austin as part of the Dangerous Alliance, and he and Anderson would win the tag team titles together. So not much of a singles push for Bobby, but he did get the championship, and he got a world title match with Flair at the next Clash of the Champions that I always remembered fondly.
Nice. Okay. And,
that was the penultimate match. We only have one more left.
One
Yay!
And Tony's back here in front of the dressing room with the Japanese flag on it. You see a Japanese wrestler. That's Tatsumi Fujinami, who was the IWGP champion, which was the big championship for, it still is. Well, I think they changed the name of it officially, and maybe they didn't continue the lineage, but it was the world championship for New Japan Pro Wrestling. But that's not Hiro Matsuda, but Masa Saito. That might be Hiro Matsuda.
Okay.
But this championship match, the main event of the show, comes from the New Japan Super Show that they had done in March of that year, I believe, where you had Ric Flair, who was the NWA/WCW World Champion, facing off against Tatsumi Fujinami, who was the IWGP Champion, and they had like a controversial finish. So in Japan, they recognized Fujinami as having won the NWA Championship. In the United States, they said Flair was still champion, and this was sort of the match to settle that.
Interesting.
So depending on what lineage you choose to follow, you could look at this as Flair regaining the championship here, or just solidifying his defense of it.
Yeah.
There's Bruce right there, the guy with the glasses.
Nice.
I didn't know there was that good of a shot of him, because I hadn't watched this far into the tape since I saw that. In all fairness. Again. But that's what this is. That's why the subheading for this pay-per-view was Return from the Rising Sun, because the main event was all precipitated on the controversial finish of the championship match in Japan. So you actually have a kind of a weird dynamic here where Flair would technically still be the heel in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Fujinami would be the babyface, but because of the sort of jingoistic nature of professional wrestling and just American fans in general, I think a lot of people would be pulling for Flair simply because he's the American wrestling the foreigner.
Yeah.
And of course, Flair was just a popular heel anyway, and especially in the Southeast, Flair was always very popular. So Flair's probably going to get as many cheers as boos during this match.
All right.
That's a weird response. You do that a lot. I
yes,
say
yes,
something,
I
you're
do.
just like, all right.
I do it a lot outside of this as well. Like my friends will tell me something, I'm like, all right.
It feels very reductive on a podcast, though. It's like either don't say anything or actually add something.
I wanted some sort of audio.
Use the mantra from improv, and you add something on top of what I say.
I didn't have anything to add.
Then just don't say anything.
I'll be very quiet then.
Okay, but just saying, all right, doesn't really help.
Oh.
Hi.
A Johnny cameo.
You came in for the last match?
I'm just here for this. I didn't know switch.
Just here for the switch. Fair.
Rick's got a whole little entourage. He's got his chef and his maid and his butler there. None of those people really fill that role for him, but he was the millionaire playboy character. He put the Rolex on the tray. He's wearing the butterfly robe, the one that he wore at the Royal Rumble in 1992. They did a whole episode of WWE Treasures about a few years ago. And his hair is much shorter than you would see Rick have a lot of the time, because he had just been a part of that horrible Black Scorpion angle where he wrestled Sting under the mask at Starrcade 90, so he had to cut his hair to fit under the mask.
Okay.
Of course, classic 80s Ric Flair had a much fuller head of hair than that.
Yes.
This is more like corporate Ric Flair.
It is.
And there's the big gold belt. I was never a fan of that belt. We talk about our favorite belts. Like, it's iconic, and it was the NWA World Championship from when I started watching wrestling, but never liked that belt all that much. I always thought it was one of the lesser ones. It definitely looks like a big, ornate championship trophy, but I don't know.
It doesn't give off the right vibes.
I was never fond of it. That's Bill Alfonso. We have a Japanese and American ref in this match. That's part of the gimmick of, we're going to get a clear decision here. So we've got a Japanese ref and an American ref. But the American ref is Bill Alfonso, who would go on to probably greater fame as a manager in ECW when he managed Sabu and Rob Van Dam.
Okay.
This is the longest match on the show. Came in at just under 20 minutes.
Just under 20 minutes.
Got 3 3/4 stars from Dave Meltzer, which would make it the second highest rated match. The Sting and Luger versus Steiners tag team match got 4.5 stars. And again, like I say, that's many people's match of the year from 1991. But this is a good, solid match. Good main event. Especially if you like, wrestling. And like I say, this was the point at which my cassette tape transferred over from black and white to color.
Had to make sure you saw Ric Flair in all of his color.
Flair shines so bright, he could only be seen in color.
Yep.
The black and white couldn't handle him.
No, not at all.
And Tatsumi Fujinami, legendary wrestler in Japan, started out as a light heavyweight before being a heavyweight champion. And even, I've been reading through the Observer collection from 93. He's still a fairly major player in New Japan at that point, so even though he was deep into his career at this point, still had a lot to give. And I don't want to give the wrong impression either. Like, I'm not some big... I was never a subscriber, but I'm not some big proponent of Dave Meltzer. I think he's fine as a wrestling journalist, but I'm not suggesting that his opinion is the end-all, be-all. I like reading the Observer collections because it's a lot of wrestling history. And I just pulled up his star ratings because it was easily accessible. And I just wanted to give you guys sort of a snapshot of how some of these matches were received.
Yeah.
But I'm not like a big Dave Meltzer acolyte. I don't have anything against him either.
No, just a quick and easy reference point.
Right, and it's just one of the more thorough wrestling references of the last 30-plus years, so... That's 40-plus years at this point. The Japanese ref, too, I should point out, is Tiger Hattori, famous for his red shoes. I think his red shoes were actually... like a tribute to another wrestling ref, but don't hold me to that. But I know the red shoes were like a big deal, and I'm not sure if it was just unique to him or if it was actually also a tribute to somebody else. Again, I'm only so well versed in Japanese wrestling history.
Is it dead?
No.
Oh, it's done with it.
You done with it?
That was fast.
That was
I was
fast.
just seeing this up and it was on the fast end.
Ah. The match is still going.
You want to stay for the last match?
Less than 20 minutes.
Oh, now I'm dead.
Now he's getting puts it back.
At least I put it back. He's...
Fujinami just had Flair in like a bow and arrow, which is the move where he was laying on his back on the mat and he had Flair bent over his knees.
Okay. But, okay. I was a bit distracted by Kid and his
I understand. Switch. And of course the signature Flair chops and Fujinami coming back with the chop of his own. Flair with his knee pads over his shins. Some people would argue that he'd put him over there because he'd be dropping the leg, he'd be using the figure fours to protect his shins, but I think most people who knew Flair well said it was because he was embarrassed by his skinny calves.
Oh no. Oof.
Boston Crab locked in by Fujinami.
Definitely again looking painful.
Classic submission hold, sort of a cousin to the Scorpion Deathlock / Sharpshooter. Not really I think the Royal Octopus Hole was, well, at least one of Fujinami's finishes. Like I said, I'm not nearly as well versed on Japanese wrestling. Even from the time period where I was watching a lot of wrestling and, you know, I'd hear about the Japanese wrestlers and still only know so much.
Yeah, it would be really tough to know everything, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, if, you know, you had access to the tapes from Japan and it took a lot of time to study it, it's not that hard to know. It's just not something that I'm personally that well versed in.
Yeah.
I just know a little bit. I just know way more about American wrestling at the time. Because that's what I had access to. And
Exactly. How long did it take how long did it take for Japanese wrestling to become much more accessible more globally?
I don't know. I mean, people were trading tapes even back in the 80s and 70s, you know, if you were into tape trading. And, like I say, WCW started doing the joint super shows with New Japan. They did in like 91, 92, and 93, so you got to see some there. And the wrestlers would always have, there would be some crossover. The companies would have working arrangements with WCW and with the WWF or, you know, the NWA as well. So the Japanese stars would come over here and wrestle some. And, of course, the American wrestlers would wrestle over there. And you could follow through the magazines and later through the newsletters and whatnot. But, I mean, it was probably just, you know, in very, very recent years that it would, you know, the birth of the internet and then, you know, through YouTube and stuff like that and then streaming where it'd be super accessible and where they'd start. And, you know, I think some of the New Japan, I think New Japan had a television show that aired in the U.S. for a while in like the 2010s.
I did not expect to learn that.
I don't know how readily available some of their big shows were in the U.S. other than, of course, there were commercial videotapes of, Fujinami kind of missed with that forearm. Maybe. I think it was supposed to be a forearm to the face, but maybe it was supposed to be the chest. That one looked a lot better. The first one looked like it came up a little short. I don't know if I finished my thought earlier when we were talking about it, but New Japan Pro Wrestling did have a streaming service.
Okay.
Like I said, at the time it was only like $10 a month. And I had a subscription to it, and we watched a little bit on it, but then I didn't really have time to watch as much as I would have liked, so I kind of let it go.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, it might still be available. And it wasn't just current stuff, it had a lot of classic stuff on it too.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's still out there and it's still reasonably priced, it's probably definitely worth checking out if you're a wrestling fan.
Indeed, indeed.
We've gone from all right to okay to indeed.
Both guys rocking the basic black trunks.
Because why not?
Trunks from Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, they're wearing Trunks from Dragon Ball Z. Actually, Flair's haircut kind of looks like Trunks' haircut from Dragon Ball Z. If it was purple instead of blonde.
Yeah. I think Trunks is slightly longer.
Similar, though.
Yeah.
Now, see, Flair's working over the leg, but his finishing move was the figure four, so in his case, it's going to be to set up his finishing move. Although, to be fair, he didn't win a lot of matches with it, at least not against other top guys.
Uh-huh.
Somehow that doesn't feel shocking, honestly.
It kind of is, honestly. I mean,
Okay.
most of the guys at this time would win, even the matches against the other big stars. If they're going to win, they'd generally win with their finisher.
Uh-huh.
Good to know. Also,
I remember Sting winning with like a flying clothesline or like a splash every now and then instead of the Scorpion Deathlock. But it just felt like of all the guys who had a signature finishing hold, Flair's the one who won with his the least. I'm talking by this time period. I'm not necessarily saying in years past.
Overall.
And again, if he's going to wrestle like a squash match against a jobber on TV, he's probably winning with the figure four. But against other top stars, he'd get the figure four on. You'd see him use it, but it wasn't often the finish. You know, and it was sold like it's a big deal. Oh, he's got the figure four on, but the guy would get to the ropes or something else would happen.
Exactly. Something always has to happen.
Even here, I don't believe the figure four is the finish. And it wasn't even uncommon either if he was going to win with it, not to win by submission, but the other guy would pass out or something. He'd actually get a pin in the figure four. That would happen occasionally.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Hey, Dylan, I appreciate you chiming in, but if all you have to say is you can really just keep that to yourself.
Honestly, I feel like I was maybe being a bit louder than you are.
They did the spot there where Fujinami rolled it over.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that legitimately does fucking hurt.
Yeah.
If you're in because, I mean, obviously, I'm a wrestling fan, so we've put moves on each other before, and I've felt it rolled over. It doesn't feel great.
No. Not at all.
I mean, again, it's one of those things that's kind of silly. Like, you're not going to get it on somebody without their cooperation, and you're probably not going to turn it over without their cooperation, so it's not a legitimate finishing hold, but you can legitimately get hurt. And there's Fujinami using the what would be called the Scorpion Deathlock in WCW at the time. Bret Hart would use it and call it the Sharpshooter. And the guy we saw coming out with Fujinami, Masa Saito, he actually invented the hold. And I can't remember what he called it. I had researched that before we watched some wrestling last year, but now I can't remember what the name of it was. But Sting would be the one who would popularize it in the U.S. as the Scorpion Deathlock. And now most people refer to it as the Sharpshooter because of Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
But Sting actually did it before Bret. And like I said, neither one of them invented it. Actually, a lot of different, because I think either Riki Choshu or Hiroshi Hase used it as their finisher too. I think it was Riki Choshu. Again, I'm not all I'll read about them going back and reading the Observer collections and whatnot, and I knew a lot of their names at this time because they would get mentioned in the magazines and on the American TV shows. But as far as really knowing all the minutia of their repertoires, I definitely did not and still don't. So I do know Fujinami used the Royal Octopus Hold, which is actually a move I knew from the Tecmo Wrestling Nintendo game.
No, what? How? I mean, obviously not how, but
there's an NES game.
Surprising.
It's Tecmo Wrestling.
Yeah.
Tecmo World Wrestling, something like that. So it doesn't have any real. It doesn't have a wrestling license. It doesn't have any real wrestlers, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't think it does anyway. If it does, they're Japanese wrestlers because all the wrestlers look Japanese, and I think it has a lot of Japanese-centric moves like the Royal Octopus Hold, which is very similar, if not exactly the same, as AJ Lee's finishing hold, the Black Widow. That's not what she calls it, is it?
I don't know.
I think
I'm
that's
not
what
good
she
with.
calls it. But that may not be exactly the Royal Octopus Hold, but it's a similar hold to that.
Yeah, I'm not too good with holds, moves, whatever, and names.
Fujinami, they went for the bridge spot. I don't know if they just didn't pull it off or they intentionally dropped down on it. Yeah, this is a really good match. It didn't really have the cachet of something because a lot of us American fans just didn't know Fujinami. We knew the storyline. We're like, oh, Flair lost to Fujinami, but maybe he didn't, and there's a dispute over who the champion is, so that meant something, but it's also like, we might have known the name, and again, there are wrestling fans who were well-versed in Japanese wrestling. I'm just talking about, by and large, at least like my group of wrestling fan friends. We didn't really know Fujinami all that well, and it was a good match, and we enjoyed it, but it wouldn't have been like, two big-name wrestlers that we had been watching on TV every week, so it's kind of a weird dynamic in the main event. But not a bad main event by any means. Actually, a very solid main event. I mean, pretty much anytime you got Flair in the main event, it's going to be a good match.
Yeah.
And Flair is bleeding, of course.
Of course.
Got to turn that blonde hair red.
Always.
What
Every single
does
time.
they say? Red equals green. Like I say, technically those punches are illegal. And you see the referee's like, hey, stop that. But I don't know if I've ever actually seen anybody disqualified for throwing a punch.
I definitely don't
I certainly
think
haven't.
so. I say not within our lifetimes, at least.
Damn, Flair had that chop at the back and you just saw the sweat fly off Fujinami.
Ouch.
Oh, Flair missed the upside down bump. Normally he would go all the way over and hit the apron on the outside. And a lot of times his opponent would meet him with the clothesline, but he didn't quite make it over on that one. Speaking of Flair, of course, if you're not watching along. Even if you're not watching along, if you're familiar with Flair as a wrestler, you know the bump I'm talking about. Some people would say a lot of Flair's matches would start to look repetitive, especially later into his career, like this era on.
Interesting.
He'd do some of the same moves over and over. Although, the longer the match goes, the more he's going to mix it up and the more of a story they're going to tell. But everything Flair did was really crisp and clean, and he was, great at taking bumps, and he was good at telling a story in the ring. But he would also make the argument, too, look, it's like you're going to see your favorite bands. You want them to play the hits. People are coming to see me. I want them to see the stuff they're used to me doing. So I never had a problem with Flair's match. I never felt like they got too repetitive or anything. I was always very pleased with the matches he put on. But that was one of the knocks against Flair, especially from this era on, kind of. But, as a fan, too, I would agree. Like, I don't necessarily want to see the exact same match over and over, but especially if I'm going to go see him live. Like, of course, watching on TV, you might feel a little more of that repetitiveness, but this is your chance to see them live. You want to see them do the stuff you're used to them doing. They can do it in a different order, in a different place in the match, and mix it up here or there, and there's the Flair flop. Some people are not fans of that either. They think that's a little over the top.
Flair flop is over the top.
I was going to say it's called the shows, or the matches getting repetitive would get burned very, very quickly.
Well, I don't personally think Flair's matches were repetitive. Just because he has some of the same moves within the context of the match, they're still
dropping the bottle of water. They're
still done at different times during a different part of a story in a different match with a different story. So
yeah.
Just because you do some signature spots doesn't mean that's like, I go to a football game. They're running the play. They're running halfback off left tackle again. Wow, we've seen that. Why are they still doing that? No, they're
I wasn't saying they. Well, I'm saying if they would, that would get going very, very quickly.
That's the Royal Octopus hold right there.
Okay.
Interesting.
So very similar to Black Widow, maybe not exactly the same. Sort of an abdominal stretch, but not exactly either.
Full of dripping blood.
That's signature Flair too. There.
Yeah.
I think the most blood I've ever seen in a match from one wrestler would be Eddie Guerrero and JBL at, I don't know if it was the Great American Bash. They had a couple of matches in 2004 for the title, but one of them, Eddie just hit a gusher. Oof. And it's just gushing the whole rest of the match. It's almost hard to watch. War Games at Wrestle War 92, which is, a year removed from this, because Wrestle War moved to the May spot for 92.
Yeah.
Between the Dangerous Alliance and Sting's Squadron. Sting and Nikita Koloff. Was it Sting, Nikita, the Steiners, and Steamboat, maybe? Whatever Sting's team. That match collectively had a lot of blood in it. Like, just about everybody in the match was bleeding. So that might be the most blood I've seen in a match. And don't get me wrong, I haven't seen some of the legendarily bloodiest matches in wrestling history, so.
It looks like, obviously, a significant enough amount of blood, obviously noticeable and everything, but it doesn't look like any sort of crazy amount compared to what's been in wrestling.
One thing about Flair, too, is he had that platinum blonde hair, so the blood would get up in it, so it would look probably even worse than it was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He showed it off really well.
Yo, he's on the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is, but they're not really doing any moves on the ramp. He just took a bump out on the ramp. And Fujinami's out on the floor, so we don't get to see the cool ramp spots like we saw earlier.
Damn.
But you wouldn't necessarily expect that stuff from Flair and Fujinami. Neither one of them are really high flyers. Neither one of them are going to do real big power impact moves, the kind of stuff you want to see on the ramp. So, although to be fair, Arn wasn't really that either. But then again, Bobby was more of a high flyer, so he's the one who actually took the slam out there. I want to say maybe the Japanese ref gets knocked out and Alfonso has to come in and count. I was trying to remember what the finish was exactly. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've watched the whole show. I've put it on to go to bed to a lot, but then again, I'm only making it through the first couple of matches.
Okay, so when would you estimate is the last time you watched all of it?
I don't even know, to be completely fair. Like I say, I noticed Bruce Mitchell in the crowd, but I didn't know we had that shot of him later, so I hadn't made it that far into it for a while. I might have gone... I remember showing Dylan... I don't know if I showed him the whole Steiners Luger Sting match, or if I just showed him the video, because I was really like, got some Fujinami butt. There we go. Yeah, there was the finish. Tiger Hattori got knocked down. Flair rolled up Fujinami, had the trunks. Alfonso came in for the pin. So not really a clean win. But, I mean, Flair was the dirtiest player in the game at this time, so...
Kind of expected at this point, then.
So that was... And again, Flair winning without the use of the figure 4. But yeah, I don't think I've watched this match. I don't know, Lexi. I couldn't put a number on it.
Since it was a new match?
No, well, like I say, I had that videotape of it, and I'd watched it a lot.
Watching it in black and white.
So, not this match, though.
True,
not this match.
True. You got to see all of Flair's blood in full color.
But, yeah. I mean, I don't sit down and really go back and rewatch whole pay-per-views all that often. I just don't have that kind of time, you know?
Yeah.
I might watch a match here or there.
So maybe if it was like a really great one.
I'll put them on to go to sleep to, but I'm more likely to go back and watch a match here or there than I am to watch a whole show. So, yeah, it's probably been... I don't want to say it's been 10 years, but it could have easily been 10 years or more since I've watched this whole show.
Damn.
But I feel like it still holds up. I feel like it's a good show. Like I said, from a time period when wrestling wasn't all that well regarded, I think this was a good little diamond in the rough. And we got the fireworks going off on the end of the ramp. Nothing like the pyro they would have in a few years. That shit was so loud. Like Attitude Era pyro, you could hear that. I remember one time I wasn't down in my seat. I was like out in the area where you have all the food and stuff outside of the main bowl of the arena. And I think it was Chris Jericho's pyro went off. Even out there, it was super fucking loud.
Damn. I was just saying, was there any sort of pyro?
They cut out pyro by and large, you know, within the last decade. And they'll still use it on some of the big shows like the pay-per-views. But they don't use it nearly as much. And especially not for just the regular house shows or for the regular television tapings.
I don't really recall any sort of pyro there, but like going to certain venues for concerts. We were in a stadium one time, and it was fairly loud, but the heat. We were like up in that top floor area of it, and we could feel the heat coming off of the pyros.
Yeah. I like this here too, where they go back for a little recap with the announcers. They don't just go right off the air after the match.
Yeah.
I like that. Gives it more of a sports feel, and plus, I mean, back then you didn't have the Monday night show, so we weren't going to get any sort of a follow-up to this for almost a week when you'd have WCW Saturday night at 6:05 on TBS. So it's nice to have a little bit of a recap here before we go off the air.
Does seem nice.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Bill Alfonso. I think we're back to getting the replay of the finish here.
Jimbo.
I think that was Dusty talking to Jim.
Ah.
Jim Ross is the play-by-play man.
Nice.
Oh, Fujinami butt. Normally it's Flair's butt we see. Guess it's nice for somebody else to take the butt shot this time. I sounded wrong. And this was close to the end of Flair's run with WCW for a while. He would leave before the next pay-per-view and wind up for his first run in the WWF. Mm-hmm. That's another part of the reason people look back not so fond on this era with Flair leaving WCW. The We Want Flair chants did echo throughout the arenas throughout the summer.
Damn. Very, very popular. Very, very requested.
And there you go. Credits. That was something WCW would do. I guess probably because they were owned by a TV company and Turner Broadcasting.
Probably.
You didn't see this on the WWF shows. Even nowadays, you do get that executive producer, Paul Levesque and Lee Fitting, but you don't get a full set of credits like you got here.
Yeah.
That was sort of unique to WCW at the time. So on Oz Coleman as part of the production team. You almost wonder if having a wrestler named Oz was kind of a rib on him. And we also have a Bear Berman, and we saw bears. What the hell's going on? Head carpenter.
Okay. A lot of people, a lot of what goes into it.
Terry Boatwright, that was Alexander York's name. Remember, I knew it was And there we go, the Great American Bash. We're going to be watching that. Originally aired July 14th, 1991. That's one of our summer shows that I've already got on the calendar. That's another one, another show I look back on very fondly, even though a lot of people don't. Damn, that's the Exploding Vagina WCW logo. What auto played here? We're going way late in WCW run now. Oh, God, this must be... Well, I don't know if it's SuperBrawl or not. Starcade, okay, so, God, this might be the last Starcade. I guess I could actually press a button here and see. Yes, Starcade 2000, the last Starcade.
TM.
It's interesting that is what would autoplay. Like, they've got a really good collect. The WCW and WWE and WWE Vault YouTube channels, they put a lot of really good content on it. A lot of good stuff to watch. I don't know if it's quite as easy to sort through as it used to be on the network. I don't know if it's cataloged and organized quite as well, but there's definitely a lot there if you want to take the time and look for it. So I'm glad that's there. But I do miss the network, though. The network was such a great deal between all the classic content and, of course, all the pay-per-views / PLEs. That's an era I look back on fondly and would like to have back. But TKO, man, what are you going to do? All right, well, I think that's a technical knockout on this episode of the podcast.
All right.
You guys both look like you're dragging ass over there. Not that you're a dragon ass. Not like you're the ass of a mythical lizard.
No, like
You're
we're about to
dragging
pass
your
out.
ass. So, yeah, hopefully y'all are going to bring more energy on the next episode, because I don't know if I can keep carrying them like this.
Fair, what is the next episode?
Y'all know what it is. We discussed that earlier.
That is true, we did. That's going to be a fun one.
For y'all, maybe.
Okay.
Hopefully y'all can lose your voice during that one instead of me.
Sorry.
I don't have anything to say.
You might find something.
Should we tell them what it is, or should we just leave it as a tease?
They've got to come back next week to find out.
It won't be next week.
Not next week. Sorry.
We're
now.
every other week.
2 weeks from now, got to come back.
Isn't that
find
cool?
out.
Would that be
Awesome.
bi-weekly, or would that be...
Yeah, that's
Bi-weekly.
bi-weekly.
But bi-weekly sounds like it should be twice a week.
No, bi-weekly is every other week.
But it's weird.
I understand,
nomenclature.
but when somebody says that they get paid bi-weekly, it means they get paid every other
Yeah, you're right. I'm
week.
not saying it. I'm not saying it's-
Bi-weekly should be every other week. I think
No.
that actually could be used for both.
No,
But
every-
bi-weekly should be
every
every other.
other week should be every. But think about it. If you're saying you're doing it bi-weekly, that should be twice a week.
No, that should be every other week. Bi-weekly.
But bi means 2, and weekly means you're
Means
doing
weekly.
it every week.
Weekly every 2 weeks.
No, that's every other week.
Yeah, every other week. 2 weeks.
Right.
Bi-weekly.
So bi-weekly should be twice a week.
No.
I don't know, unless y'all finish that debate.
Why do you not understand where I'm coming from here? I'm not saying that you're not correct and that's how it's used. I'm just saying if you hear it seriously.
I think every other week.
What does bicycle mean? 2 wheels.
Yeah.
So bi-weekly should mean twice a week.
No, it means
Twice.
2
Bi-weekly
weeks.
should mean twice weekly.
Once every 2 weeks.
No, that's not what you're saying.
Bi-weekly. Weekly meaning once a week, but bi meaning 2 weeks, so once every 2 weeks.
No, bi-weekly. Bi means 2, weekly means weekly. 2 weekly, twice weekly. Like I say, bicycle is 2 wheels. Bisexual means you like 2 sexes. It doesn't mean you're fucking somebody. It's not like you're fucking every other sex. Well, I just had sex with a guy. I gotta skip. I mean, no.
That's what bi-weekly means.
Twice every week is what bi-weekly should mean.
No.
This is really the most energy you've had this whole fucking episode. Can we find stuff to argue about on the next wrestling show? Because at least then you're going to get up.
Probably.
I mean, damn. Bring this energy to talking about the Ron Simmons Oz match on the next show or something. Please? It's a good thing we don't do twice weekly podcasts. I mean, I'd have no voice and I'd hear, yeah. All right.
Indeed.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I was very affirmative this episode.
Well, you need to take some kind of action because this just ain't
very,
cutting
very
it.
reassuring to all of your points.
I'm sure my points appreciate you being reassuring to them. This is just falling off the rails, y'all. We need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Come back next time when the conversation hopefully will continue. And hopefully we can pick up our game just a little bit. But until then, hey, I'm bleeding.
Fun.
Until then,
I
I am
wasn't bleeding, but I
bleeding.
got some cat
Yep,
scratches
I'm going to start
doing
bleeding
it.
now and keep bleeding until the next episode. Hope
Oh,
I don't
no.
exsanguinate. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon concluded.
Bye.
Bi-weekly.